boy Big T don't miss.
Bang, 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 boy, shit break. On the hard thing, out of Alabama, you can add Nick say.
Now our feature presentation.
Yo, I done met a lot of niggas in my lifetime. You can't keep it real with everybody, my nigga. Everybody ain't solid, everybody ain't 100. For real. Stick to your motherfucking self. These niggas ain't what they say they is. Know that?
Yeah. I do this shit for my brothers and everybody that done died for us. Niggas saying they gon' ride. When the time came, they ain't ride for us. Hitting licks on some hot shit with the same click, it was 5 of us. Niggas switched up like a bitch, so they'll die for you, but they lied to us. Make room for the real. All that other shit ain't got time for it. Mama still paying bills. Till I get a meal, I'ma grind for it. Record labels all fake and gay, I won't sell my soul, I won't sign for it. Really cut from a different cloth, and new niggas only piss me off. Come around like they really down, but they only around cause they mooching off it. Niggas pussy beat the coochie off them. Listen up when the truth is talking. Real niggas got morals, and the lame niggas don't hate. Rob, who take what? Bitch, I'm riding around with that cake. Riding around with that long K. Fuck a Draco, yeah, it's wartime. We ain't doing no drive-bys. If you try mine, we knocking doors down. I ain't saying I'm the biggest nothing, but if we got a problem, I'ma handle that. Loud talk gon' get crunny smacked. Turn this fat ass to a punching bag. Niggas saying it's don't go when they see a nigga. Well, bitch, I'm a lunching pad. Hot shit for you fuck niggas. All love for the real niggas. Even if a nigga went blind and got paralyzed, I wouldn't feel niggas. See the pain in my city eyes that they traumatized and they still getting it. Forever smoke on Mac bands. Long live smoking bean. But most of all, the one that hurt the most, goddamn nigga to the king. Wake me up, I know it's all a dream, but this real life and I'm stating facts. If I said it, nigga, then I meant it, nigga. If it's out my mouth, I won't take it back. Rap niggas know what's going on. I'm the hottest shit since Tupac. I'm in Tupac and I'm too hot. Nigga, you not, I'm a fuse box. Yeah, nigga, I control shit. Y'all ain't better than my old shit. Tell them folks on no shit, on oh shit, this bullshit. I done kept it too real, but never got it in return. It's fucked up how we live. Well, I guess it's what I gotta learn. And they ain't saying that I'm perfect, cause everybody got flaws. And they say the real in the graveyard or they locked up behind walls. The closer homie can be your biggest hater, and I ain't trusting shit, not at all. They last at you when you fall, get mad at you when you ball. They come around like they really down, but them niggas sour cut them off. Stand alone on your own team, be a grown man, that's a boss. I'm only here to get it real. If I ain't done it, I ain't speaking on it. Wake 'em up, cause it's real. You can't learn shit cause you sleeping on me. Own homie tried to steal from me. The same one that said he killed for me. I never trust another soul going down that road, I be done killed something. Taking food out my kids' mouth will be the quickest way I catch a bid for something. Understand you gotta live for something, or you gon' die trying to live for nothing. Every dollar ain't meant to be chased, my nigga. Be patient, it's really coming. You don't work, you don't eat. I'm grinding hard, losing sleep. I'm taking drugs to take the pain away, but somehow the shit getting weak. And the fact that niggas so quick to try you in these streets and think it's shit sweet. Niggas fast, they gon' fleet. In the meantime, I found my own grind, I got my own shine, and I spend my money on my own time. Bitch! I done kept it too real, but never got it in return. It's fucked up how we live. Well, I guess it's what I gotta learn. And they ain't saying that I'm perfect, cause everybody got flaws. And they say the real in the graveyard or they locked up behind walls. The closer homie can be your biggest hater, they ain't trusting shit, not at all. They laugh at you when you fall, get mad at you when you ball. They come around like they really down, but them niggas sour cut them off. Stand alone on your own team, be a grown man, that's a boss.
Man, y'all come on in, man. Boy, brother. Congregating on a Saturday night. Let's come out. To the squad. First level. Plywood. Karen. Hey, this ball. The house is laid down by the seawall. To the squad. Yeah.
What's that word, man? It's your boy, the Alabama Hitter, and you are now tuned in to Hit Squad TV. Home of the hitters, man. Nikolai, what it do? We in the building tonight, man. You know what I'm saying? We was just over on Cypress TV, and we was chopping it up about Tupac and the mystery behind his death. And I said, well, let's go over to my channel where we can show a little visuals and put it on the screen and get a little feedback. So I appreciate y'all for tapping in. And I also want to say shout out to my boy Bo the Kid. That's right, Bo the Kid. Everybody seemed to like the intro. That's my homeboy Mike Bowman, Bo the Kid. And the name of that song is Too Real. Yeah, Too Real, fam. So yeah, man. What's up with it, Flower Bloom? What's going on?
I'm chilling like a villain.
That's what's up, man. That's what's up. So yeah, we gonna get into it. We finna get into this art of dialogue. Shout out to the art of dialogue, and we gonna
Yeah. Shout out to Art.
yeah, man. Suge Knight was on last night. You know what I'm saying?
I
And
haven't had a chance to watch that because I read the title and I was just like, is this some BS or is he serious? Because Suge be trolling
right.
and saying some off the wall type of stuff. So I was like, wait.
Mm-hmm. No, it's all good. We finna get into it. Um, Before we get into it, let me see something because something up with this nigga right here, man. I need y'all to check this out. What's wrong with this nigga right here? And what is he smoking, man? Welcome to the stage, Cypress. Check,
Yo, what up?
check this nigga out right here, bro. What's up with this? You know what I'm saying? He must be real shout on probation, or he off probation. I don't know what that is he's smoking on, but he tripping, bro. Shout out to Finesse. Shout out to Finesse.
Oh, they probably just I don't know, man. I can't with the next you just never know.
Yeah, he be on some other stuff, man. Good old,
With Memphis niggas, you just never know.
I swear you don't. Yo, popped out the bushes with the super chat, man. Appreciate you, yo. Much love to you, fam. Always, you already know what it is, man. One of
Salute.
real talk, man. Yeah. So let me get this dude off the screen. We finna get into the art of dialogue and Suge Knight and what he said, man. Um, And I take Suge Knight with a grain of salt because Suge Knight be having so many bones to pick with so many people till you can't really, you have to pick and choose with him. You know what I'm saying? Let's see here. Here we go. Yeah, we finna get right into it without further delay. That's my dog right there. Salute Hitter and the squad. You already know what it is. Salute to you, yo. Yes, indeed. ZK in the building. My dog J Rail in the building. Old Faithful. Salute him, big homie. Hope you good, man.
They real.
You know what I'm saying? Yes, indeed. So yeah, let's go and get into it, fam. What do we got here? All the dialogue. Salute to him. And y'all make sure y'all go to check out all the dialogue um on YouTube. Some dope interviews, fam.
What made Tupac attack Orlando?
What the truth of the matter, it definitely wasn't nobody gonna snatch Tupac chain. Number one, we wouldn't allow that. Number two, Pac wouldn't allow that. So it wasn't about no chain snatching.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Something was told to Pac and made Pac go on one. And when you really look at it, We know, everybody know, that was just a plot. That was a plan. What happened, what happened.
So what do he mean by that was a plot, that was a plan? It almost seemed like he's saying they didn't set Pac up. You know what I'm saying? Because what we always hear, it was a chain snatch the week before. Pac seen the nigga in the MGM and he went for his, basically.
Right.
So let's get into it.
When you tell somebody like Pac, his eyes on you, and these people getting paid to kill you, he gonna do what he's supposed to do. He gonna go.
One more time.
Kill you. His eyes on you. Somebody like Pac, his eyes on you, and these people getting paid to kill you.
So basically, what Suge's saying is somebody told Pac it was a bag on his head.
Yep. What's his name? One of the homies whispered in his ear and told him, there go the dude who snatched my chain. And you know, Tupac is loyal to people to a default, okay? Whoever is he around and that has his back, so to speak, he's gonna dive in and do what he do. That whole chain situation that's supposed to happen at the mall and this, that, and the third, that was BS. It was a setup. Period.
Okay. All right. Well, let's get into it.
He gonna do what he's supposed to do. He gonna go. And what happened, happened. But there was a lot to go along with that. That it wasn't a coincidence. A lot went on with that. That people say I had grades or fracking, but I got a 45 bullet into my skull. Still today. When things happen, it happen. And don't nothing make that type of movement. But jealousy, greed, and money cost Pac his life, cost me my freedom. Even though it didn't have nothing to violate me on. Even though everybody want to twist the story here and there. You know, I never judge people because I don't hear the words. But now I'm sitting in a place where I got time to listen. And for somebody to sit up there and say that I was there with Orlando, TPD, their lawyer, and my lawyer, I wasn't there because I was already in custody in jail. There's no way I should have got a violation, but I did. And that same violation came back to cross me up again. Like all the other stuff everybody talking about, only thing I gotta say is this: stupidity, stupidity, stupidity. Whoever's involved in any of that type of stuff, nobody got. Damn, what y'all got some kind of weird stuff going on? Was it something going off every 2 seconds? Well, anyway, y'all sound like one of those old school drug dealers. But anyway, for that situation, there's been so many people talking about it. It was not there. But Low from OFTV, you didn't have no conversation with Pac. You barely knew him. You was not there. All these lawyers who supposed to be for black people, who want to go and do documentaries and want people to say negative stuff about Pac or me or try to cost other black men up for a few dollars, you wasn't there. I used to have whatever Keefy D was going through, that was on him.
What do you mean, whatever Keefy D was going through? Keefy D was on a mission. Keefy D was absolutely trying to, you know what I'm saying, get a lick back. But we'll let him go. Y'all know the story.
Or people he told on his neighborhood or anywhere else, that still was on him. That's Crip business. But when it got to the point when I heard now that he's saying this and he's saying that, he's saying this, he's saying that, all the people who were participating with him or being friends with him, that's on them. I have nothing to do with that case. I have nothing to say about that case. I have nothing to do with that case. And they should leave me out of that case, because that's not my case. And I have nothing to say. Until I found
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Keefy D was pounding on his chest like King Kong, I still don't want to see another black man. You want to put another black man in prison. That's not me. But I tell you this. Don't bring me to Loserville. I call Vegas Loserville. Only way I will come to Vegas is sitting in somebody's county jail
is if me and Keefy D are sellies.
If they can guarantee me that me and Keefy D will be sellies. Because that happened, I felt different than the boy. I got 6 punches to the stomach, 6 punches to the head, and 2 in the face. But still, free Keefy D. That ain't me. He'd have to change.
If you can you take me through the moments before you got grazed and Pac got shot? Like, what was y'all talking about? Like, what was y'all listening to and doing, if you don't mind me asking? I know it's a sensitive topic, so, you know.
So, you know, everybody got different versions of what happened, what they thought happened. One of the things that's wrong is, I would say 95% of the movie they did that they called All Eyes on Me was false.
Horrible movie. How y'all feel about the movie All Eyes on Me?
Worst movie I've seen in my damn life.
Man, listen, my son loved that movie, but I tell him all the time, boy, that movie got so much incorrect stuff in it, fam. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. Yeah, it's a horrible movie.
Fake. Not true. And the people that was involved with that movie, people didn't even know Tupac. They might have seen him once, twice. Even if they seen him, they didn't have a conversation with him. Most people who talk about Tupac never met Tupac. They just use Tupac's name to get some fame. But I'll tell you this.
I was so hyped to see that movie. I ain't even gonna hold you. I was too hyped to see it. Boy, I got my feelings crushed. I'm glad I ain't go to the movies and see it.
Right. Now, keep in mind, Suge can only say so much of what he really know and feel about this situation because he's still locked up. But him and Pac both was set up, in my opinion, based on black and white video recordings of not Kevin Hackey, but Tupac bodyguard. And he had started recording his phone conversations with Reggie and David Kenner.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Are you talking about damn
Frank Alexander.
Frank Alexander, yeah.
Right. Yeah. That's crazy.
Yeah, I was putting stuff in the back chat.
Let me go see. Hold on, let me go see. Shit.
Yeah,
Details of it, but the fact of the matter is this. Yeah, we did get blocked in. Yeah, Frank Alexander said he was involved. Yeah, we did get shot. But we was having a real conversation. I'm like, all right, we're gonna go up it this way. And
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Doc was like, let me drive. You bleeding out your head. You can't see. We joking. I'm like, shh. I know how to drive. He said, well, I'm going to take this oldies out you always listen to, and I'm going to put the song in. He said, it's my song to you. And the song started playing. I said, well, that's more like I'm talking to you than you talking to me. I was taking your collect calls. So Pac put on a song called You Ain't Never Had a Friend Like Me. And we was bumping that. And it wasn't a situation where I hit my tires or something happened. They tried to kill us again and ran us off the road. And what happened on the strip. And so many people was claiming the club opened back up, but this happened. Most of all the people who have a story, I don't know who all have a story, but a lot of people who had a story was lying to try to cover their own asses. But I tell you this, there's some people that I talked to, and I heard this shit. They even see small videos of their stuff. Those people are so dead on that what really happened that night. How Tupac really got assassinated. Step by step by step. When I heard it, when I seen some of it, it took me right back to the 90s. I never in my whole life entered a time zone like that. So when I say this, it shows you who blocked somebody in, who did what, who was involved, who played a part.
I don't know if y'all heard me, but hey, shout out to G Money for that super sticker. I appreciate you, love. For real. That's love, for real. Antonio, what's good, fam? Everybody hit the like button, y'all. Don't do me like that. Hit that like button for your boy, man.
Hit the like
Who
button.
didn't follow us? Who didn't come to the hospital? Who got paid? Who snitched on each other?
Oh, we got
to
rewind this chat right here because he is teasing, revealing something. And I didn't really catch it the first time I seen it.
When I say this, it shows you who blocked somebody in, who did what, who was involved, who played a part, who didn't follow us, who didn't come to the hospital, who got paid, who snitched on each other, who told on each other, and who was on one side, but really with the other side.
One more time, y'all.
Entered a time zone like that. So when I say this, it shows you who blocked.
So he's saying that there's a video. There's an actual video of the whole incident. And somebody's supposed to be releasing. I'm finna bring it back a little bit more, y'all.
But I tell you this. There's some people that I talked to, and I heard this shit. They even see small videos of their stuff. Those people are so dead on that what really happened that night. How Tupac really got assassinated. Step by step by step. When I heard it, when I seen some of it, it took me right back to the 90s. I never in my whole life entered a time zone like that. So when I say this, it shows you who blocked somebody in, who did what, who was involved, who played a part, who didn't follow us, who didn't come to the hospital, who got paid, who snitched on each other, who told on each other, and who was on one side, really with the other side. I never, in my whole journey of living, seen something so dead on. And they're supposed to be having this coming out pretty soon. And I will get into the details of it, but it's way too aggressive for a phone call out of prison. You dig? This is crazy. So it's so dead on. Some people that start ordering them a plane now, going to be with Russell Simmons after Russell Simmons raped all those boys and girls. It's crazy.
Man, listen. That man said he got a video that's gonna show who snitched on who. I don't know about that. That's crazy. What y'all think about that? Salute to you, King.
King Carly, what's up? G Money, what's up? Antonio, what's up? I ain't forget about y'all. The video just was. I think he don't want to testify because he's gonna have to implicate himself into some shit together.
Mm-hmm.
Even if it doesn't implicate himself, it's some things that you know who know, and he got a lot of people by the BALLS.
I know exactly who you talking about.
Read the back chat.
Okay.
Read the back chat, as I've been, putting stuff in there as we viewing this. But that's just my opinion and information that I have seen in black and white. So I'm going with black and white.
You know what? I'm going with black and white too. I still think the reason why Suge really don't want to testify because he's gonna have to come on down, man.
Yeah.
Because you know who got information on so many individuals. That's why the one who whispered in Pac's ear have not came back to do an interview or put that book out that he claimed he was putting out years ago.
Then he went completely off the grid because you know who told the nigga you don't want.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know exactly what happened, man. I've been on this for a minute.
Since y'all Since y'all ain't dropping no names, let's go to some names we can drop. All right. Yaki Gaddafi.
If you read the back chat, you kind of know who I'm talking about.
For sure.
I'll say it, fuck them niggas.
Go ahead.
And one of them in a wheelchair, he know. But yeah, well, Gaddafi was took out because Gaddafi knew a lot.
Oh,
Yeah.
Napoleon cousin took out.
Yeah. And shortly after that, he ended up back in jail behind a whole other situation. So God don't like ugly, and he got like 35 to 38 years.
Mm-hmm. Come on, move our cousin.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Sky Alex, what's the word? What's going on? Yeah.
No, but hey man, hey Red, you might be in some trouble, Red. Cause they done flipped the whole script on you.
Kevin, oh my God, he too much.
Man. All right, I got two more videos in the queue that I want to do. One about Suge is click tight with Rap A Lot Record CEO Jay Prince, and so he's basically going off on Harry O. If y'all don't know, Harry O is the person that funded Death Row, put the money up for
Well,
Death Row.
you say that, but then you have RW saying it was somebody else.
He said it was Pat Johnson. That's who he said it was.
Right.
Who is RW?
That's right.
Oh, okay. Okay. All right.
Let's go run it.
Yeah. Let's get into it.
That's what they y'all talking to Cole like y'all part of the case.
No, because you know how he do. He like to dox people and all that, and I ain't got time for that foolery.
I got
you. Really talk to you.
Don't F around with me.
One of the things I really don't like, care for in this business is culture vultures. You know, the people who don't care about us. That's all they want to do is take. They don't want to give back. And I know a lot of times people try to rewrite history. It'd be great to do an interview with you and stand on the truth. And that's being said, since I've been gone over 10 years now. I know there's been a lot of questions about Death Row and how Death Row got started, and who was a part of Death Row. And the thing is,
okay, before he even get to, changing the narrative, we all know that there was a phone inside of Death Row Studios, specifically for Harry O, right? We all in agreement on that?
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. So, you know what I'm saying? Niggas got their head bust for talking on that phone and clogging up the line just in case Harry O called. Okay.
They did have some business dealings, and also, Suge did pay his wife like $1 million, but then you have David Kenner in the mix as well, which was the attorney.
Right. So both of for Harry O and True.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, if Harry O did not found Death Row, he had a hell of a high position. You know what I'm saying? The picture on the screen, it don't lie.
Yeah.
Bro, nobody never gave me nothing but God. And I had to grind and get it, but I got it. And the FBI, every law enforcement investigated me, see if I did anything illegal, being black for somebody that really from Compton, instead of talking about they from Compton. So that's been said, If you look back, the name Death Row, I came up with that name. Not only did I come up with that name, when I decided to name the company Death Row, when I was going through the process of being able to get the rights to call my company Death Row, it was another guy had Death Row also. But his was still like Def Jam. So I had to find that individual. I gave him like 10 grand to buy his company and was able to make the real Death Row Records. My little homie who I love to death, Hen Dog. Hen Dog drew the logo. Hen Dog, rest in peace. M.I. Peter Hen Dog.
Yes, guy Alex. This picture is of Suge, Harry-O, and Harry-O wife in prison.
Lydia Harry.
This is the guy that, you know what I'm saying, they was talking about. The guy that was in prison.
Yeah, he went from all the Death Row to Rapper Life. Let go.
Real cocaine cowboy right here.
I know there's been a lot of stuff about Michael Harris and Lydia Harris has something to do with Death Row. It's not true. When I first met Lydia Harris, she came with my homie. It's like a brother of mine, Ryan Brown. She was looking for tracks because she wanted to be a singer. So Ryan Brown bring her about the studio. Said, Death Row was already up and going. A lot of songs was already done. And I had a group called the Convicts, 3-2 and Big Mike. All around the world for those dudes. They was the ones who run the word Big Baby.
Really though, Big Baby?
To our artists. They were signed to Rap A Lot. Lydia told me that her husband owns Rap A Lot. He's in prison. I said, well, shit. He got the Ghetto Boys. I want to buy Rap A Lot. At that point, I'm ready to go full steam to get Rap A Lot. I see Lil J at the Soul Train Awards outside. We push up on him. He tell me Michael Harris don't own Rap A Lot. He do. He said Michael Harris is a rat. So moving forward, when Michael Harris came in the picture, and they want to do something with Death Row, I was talking to him through David Kenner.
Now, come on now. Gee, you from the north side of Houston. You know who on Rap A Lot. I'm just saying.
David Kenner told me the situation with him. But they didn't have any money. Matter of fact, they would have met with Jerry Heller behind my back to try to cut a deal to bring Dre back to Rufus. Moving forward, they signed a settlement.
Exactly.
It was out the way. But more importantly, have a gag order. Well, they don't even supposed to talk about the shit. More importantly, the facts of it is this. When I came home, I talked to the lady Half Dead. She wanted to do an interview. So I did an interview with Half Dead. She said some things about Lydia. But me and Lydia cool. And some of the things she was saying, I said, I guess that's true. That's what people say. They took that and the fact that they have something to do with Death Row. They never served me not one subpoena. Never. My lawyers is they lawyers. Nobody show up to court. They get $100 and some million judgment. $50 million was because Half Dead said that basically she couldn't sing. So I said, that what I heard too. So you get $50 million because somebody said you can't sing and you never had a record out?
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
Me and Lydia settled. I gave her $1 million. She settled it. It was over. Michael Harris gets involved with his attorney him and Lydia go at it, and he went to divorce her. At that point, Lydia Harris was still on board. Michael Harris wanted to talk to my lawyer and another lawyer. They went to go visit him in prison. When the lawyer came back, they had a letter. The letter read that Lydia Harris better stay down and let them do what they want to do, or she gonna be doing life like he doing life. And I'm looking crazy. The lawyer's looking crazy. And he continued to read. And he said, this letter is to Lydia, and make sure she knows this. So the lawyer read the letter that he wrote for Michael Harris. Michael Harris tells Lydia, the little Jewish kid that y'all stabbed to death and killed, I know what's up. Matter of fact, he said, I'm the one who told y'all to rob the little dude and torture him and get him to open the safe.
Man, what is he talking about?
Stop the cap.
So they torture the little kid. The little Jewish kid dies. The lady next door knows him. She's mad because of her son. Next thing you know, another young guy who they made the fall guy, he get pulled over in the little Jewish kid truck because they looking for him, for the kid rather. It's blood all over the truck.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
They take him in jail. They check the DNA. It's a little Jewish kid blood. He's a teenager. Now, the deal fell apart. But I already had a signed deal. I already paid the money. I'm not going to go killing this dude before he won't get out of prison. So the lawyer said, well, look, let him come home and we'll fix it. I let him come home. Instead of fixing it, he did a campaign lying, saying that he started Death Row. He a co-founder of Death Row. He did operations with Death Row. Now, is that crazy? He don't know none of those people on there. He don't know nothing I did. So to take away my credibility of my hard work from doing All Eyes on Me, the best album ever, the Chronic, the Doggy Style, the Dog Pound, I can go on. These people have nothing to do with none of this stuff. But to turn around, and I kept at my end of the bargain. We ain't gonna.
Suge talks slow because he's structuring his lies, fam. I'm just gonna keep it a buck. Everybody know you can't change the narrative 30 years into it, man. And as far as Death Row go, it's a whole 35 years worth of history, fam. To where people know what it is. People know about Harry O. We done seen the premiere party for Death Row when y'all niggas was screaming Harry O. Come on, fam. What are you talking about?
And Harry O told him, don't be all in the forefront, like stay in the background.
Right. Right.
But now David Kenner have a lot to do with this shit too.
I get it. I get it. David Kenner was something else. But
hell yeah.
The whole situation with Suge and Harry O right now is coming to play because Harry O is back in the saddle with Snoop.
Right.
He can't stand that. So now 35 years later, you trying to change the narrative. And it just ain't gonna fly. It'll fly if you don't know no better. But we lived through it. We seen this. Come on, fam.
You don't say nothing. I took a shot in the belly for it. But everybody committed bankruptcy fraud. But at the same time, even after he was going around saying, oh, I'm with Trump, oh, I'm over here, I'm over there. And people in his camp saying, look, man, he did the honorable thing and didn't mention the fact that you told your wife and the next person to kill this little Jewish kid Now you shooting him in the back. Because if he would have put the evidence in hand what the lawyers want to do, everybody be in prison, and he'd still have a $700 million company.
Shout out to Balaraj for that cash out. Appreciate you, man. All the way from Folsom, California, man.
So by saying that, Michael has, and they all make jokes about it, including with the lawyers, well, Trump won't be mad. It's not a white kid. It's a Jewish kid. It's still a teenager. And
everything he's saying right now about the white kid, the Jewish kid, this is all dropping hints for people on the outside that actually know what he's talking about. It ain't for none of us. This going right over our head.
I got respect for Jewish people because a lot of my friends and a lot of my attorneys been Jewish. Just imagine
Big dog.
what they would do to take from a black man. They'll overlook somebody torturing, killing a Jewish teenager kid to try to rob him or got the money from him, turn back around and use that to mess up with my case and my company. Then turn back around not too long ago and say, hey, I'm good friends with the new DA. Tell Suge, fly me some bread. I'll tell the new DA to honor him, his appeal.
Dog whistle.
I do got a habeas in court. I want to win because I deserve to win. I'm not going to pay this dude nobody else no money to talk to the new DA to let me go. And if he got that much power, that much influence for them to not let me go, oh well. I'm gonna believe in good. I'm gonna believe in God and stand on right. But that's all I'm gonna say about that situation. But the crazy thing about this is that there's no real lawyers out there. I had one decent black attorney in my whole career, and that was Johnny Cochran. Every other black attorney is cold pieces of shit. To the point where there was a guy named Thaddeus Culpepper. This dude was not only was he working with the DA, not only did I not hire this guy, who they brung to me, this guy stole money from his own family trust account. He stole $1 million of somebody's check he put in his own account and went to prison for that.
David Kenner did not have a time in Cowens. He had, yeah. Nah, he ain't have a Tammy Cowens. Oh, man.
But at the same time, he took money from our people. He took jury from our people. And he's working with the DA. And when they was recording him going undercover.
You have 60 seconds remaining.
And you can hear the recording for yourself. He was high on crack cocaine for 2 days and weed. Then he told me Fletcher was working with the DA. And I knew Fletcher since we was kids, junior high school. It was only 5 Bloods at that school. It was us 5.
I see what you.
And when I got a new attorney to get a declaration from either both of them, Culpepper says Fletcher only want to fuck any woman attorney. They don't care about doing a declaration unless they have sex with them. Or Culpepper do some slick shit. So what I was saying on that point with Culpepper, Fletcher, another dude named Porter. Porter got everything from my civil case. Talked to the Harris and somebody know the Harris. Took some bread and sold me out. On top of that, some of the best attorneys who's black, that's all they do is get drunk, do drugs, and they don't like black men. So they sell us out down the river. They only make 5%. Well, it's only 5% of black attorneys. The men make 3%. Reason why all us black men getting so much time, because we don't have nobody to look like us who's going to fight for us. And that's really important to the point where you got some of the biggest main attorneys, even civil attorneys. They really work for the white attorneys. These men have what you call, most of them are cute.
Man, what the hell is Suge talking about? Dog whistle talk is what he doing right now. Straight dog whistle talk. This ain't got nothing to do with dialogue. This is over everybody here. He's speaking to one particular group of people, probably 2 or 3. Damn, boy, I tell you.
From the West Coast where it's Kappas at. They Q dogs. All these guys get together because they frat brothers and they mess over the people. And if I was coming home a single guy, I'd just mess with all the attorney wives. Because when they talk about their wife at home, it's crazy. They get to the point where saying, hey, even the biggest names you've seen on TV, they be like, I don't like my daughter because my daughter reminds me too much of my wife, and my wife is ugly to me. Well, you should have married a better bitch. But shit, I'd tag it if I was single. But enough of the negativity. Even though it's true, it's still negative.
I ain't saying he lying, Flower Bloom. I'm just saying he talking, but it's coming across as gibberish to the mainstream public. Only people that understand what he's saying is the people that he's talking to. This is a message that he's trying to get out from the inside, and he's just using the dialogue platform to do it.
I just want to set the record straight and tell you and shoot straight from the hip. Michael Harris is a fake ass nigga. Period. Every person want to take away that what I built and what Death Row stood for. Death Row stood for black owned. Death Row stood for the West Coast and everybody in the West Coast. Death Row was about growing, even communicating with other states. When it was all said and done, it was brought down by jealousy.
This call and your telephone number will be monitored and recorded.
It was built on hard work and talent. There's some guys that I know that just recently somebody talked to Rick Ross. Well, I don't know if it's called Rick Ross because I know the real Rick Ross. Titty Man. They talked to Titty Man. And this particular guy is a drug dealer. He stated he gave money to Death Row. Then Titty Man repeats it. These are people that, they're not my enemies, but we not from the same neighborhood, so you ain't gonna give me nothing and I ain't gonna want nothing from you. But that's like constantly trying to dirty a good success story. You want to make it seem like a black man can't build a company unless it was done with illegal money. And that's not true. So when it's all said and done, these people knew the truth. That Michael Harris called the hit on a teenager Jewish kid, and they all participated in killing him. And they used that information to mess up my settlement deal. That's the most, I don't even know no words for it. You can't say I'm telling on the motherfucker because I gave him the opportunity to get out and fix it. You can't say I'm telling on him because he is the 137. They down with the FBI. I'm always taking a loss, but I never lose the fact that who I am and who God made me. Whatever you want to ask me, it's on the table to be asked. Because I can sit in the room with anybody. It's a pleasure to be able to talk to you. And there's the facts of Titty Man running around with all these little extras. I'm not a rapper, so I'm not going to talk bad about the man, Ricky, or whatever you want to call his name. But I do stand for Tupac. He's not here to defend himself. I just recently heard him saying, all eyes on me, all eyes in the coffin, clown and pot. It's not surprising because you puppy boy, which you was. One thing about Puffy, I've been knowing Puffy probably more long than most of any of these people here. We didn't hang out together, we didn't talk together, we didn't never party together. If a person drinks, if a person is alcoholic, he gonna hang with alcoholics. If a person do drugs, he gonna hang with people who do drugs. If Puffy going up in y'all and y'all going up in him, y'all gonna hang with y'all circle. It is so deep when it comes to this. I had preachers, Noel Jones. They won't pay attention to me that much. They gonna put their time in the Puffy and go to Puffy house. I can ask one of these guys to pray for me. They say you don't need prayer. I can ask TDJ for a handshake. He wouldn't give it to Suge Knight. But we know what he give Puffy. One thing about this shit, the universe is changing. It's coming to the point where people can't hide anymore. But you know, like I said, it's your show. It's always great to support another black man. So I'm here to answer with any questions you want to ask. One more thing. Attorney Jasmine is definitely a great attorney and honest.
I don't know what's going on with Suge, y'all. But one thing I can say, Suge got a lot to say, and he don't want to say it.
No, he don't.
It's been 30 years, fam. Time out for all these mystery quotes and riddles and McGriddles, man. For real.
Yeah, get cool.
Yeah. Say something. Say something. You gonna I hate to say it, you gonna perish behind that wall, man. You don't care nothing about Pac. You know what I'm saying? Because if you cared anything about Pac, it wouldn't be a Death Row East. You would have let Pac go after he dropped Machiavelli.
Mm-hmm.
He gave you everything you needed. He signed on a napkin for 3 albums, right?
Mm-hmm.
All Eyes on Me was a double album. Machiavelli was a single album. There you go. Let me go do what I got to do. But nope, not so fast, my friend. It was too good. Suge did himself just like Diddy. He got so many chances. He dropped the ball, but he was hoping like hell for a pardon. Suge Knight will never get a pardon, I don't think. I don't. Mm-hmm. What you think about this, site?
Nah, he ain't get no party.
That's how I feel. It's a lot of laws that have changed in California. In regards to what, Flower Bloom?
Like, it's like a lot he wanna say he can't because
Big
he
dog.
know he gonna have to implicate himself.
Right. Absolutely. But fam, you doing how many years Suge got? 28?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how many he done walked down, but fam, Suge ain't got too much longer. Yeah. He ain't got too much longer, fam. Go on, tell the truth and get it out the way.
Mm-hmm.
Tupac wanted to be a part of Death Row East, but he wasn't the one. Big D was the main person.
Good.
It wouldn't have been. What I'm saying is, it wouldn't have been no Death Row East if he had let.
Pac go.
Yeah, exactly. Niggas wasn't studying no Death Row East. Niggas was trying to do Machiavelli Records. Y'all remember that?
Mm-hmm.
I'm back.
What's happening?
Yeah, a lot of laws have changed. I don't know all of them offhand, but a lot of the old heads has been getting released, and even people that had gang enhancements, like if they committed a crime when they was a youth and got the gang enhancements, like 15 plus life and all that stuff, they has been getting released, because I know somebody that had 4 bodies.
So Wonk said he go up for parole in 8 years. Okay.
But they, regarding his attorneys, they have done Suge wrong regarding that situation. And also, David Kenner was representing him during the Tupac incident. However, he had requested the surveillance footage that he showed in court, which would violate Suge. Why would you do that to your client?
Right.
When in fact other gang members was seen on surveillance, and you know they got a record on parole, this, that, and the third. Why none of them was ever violated?
No, that makes plenty of sense.
That's what I'm saying. This shit goes deep. David Kenner played a role in this shit too, because it was even a time where Harry O stated that David Kenner came to visit him, gave him a Sprite or a 7-Up, and he feel like he poisoned him. Like it's a lot of stuff, and I'm just like, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Because even in the situation where Suge was locked up for the dude that got killed at Tam's Burger,
Right.
you clearly see what's his name jump, was attacking Suge, and when he ran back or whatever, however it went, I forgot verbatim, but there was something that was dropped on the floor which looked like a GUN. You know what I'm just saying?
Right.
He basically was set up to come to Tam's Burgers.
Okay.
To have a conversation regarding Ice Cube and Dr. Dre and that whole little documentary thing that they did, whatever. But it's a lot that goes on behind the scenes of things. And that's why I'm like looking at certain people sideways. That's all I'm saying.
No, I feel that.
Mm-hmm. Now, Suge, he have done his part too. However, I don't think that he would be still sitting. I mean, he would be in a car with somebody if he had set Tupac up, knowing that bullets don't have no name.
Right. No, I agree with that, but you know who did it.
Man.
So you don't think Suge know who did it?
Of course he does, but can he outright say no? He's still locked up.
Right.
You know, anything can happen to him while he's still incarcerated. It's different if he was still on the streets.
Yeah, I feel that.
It's just a messed up situation. Like he said, they will take you from the money or take the money from you.
Yeah, I get it. But what I'm saying is, when he was out, before he ever got violated, you remember the statement he gave. Even if he knew even if he knew who did it, he wouldn't tell.
He can't tell
Okay.
to a certain degree because something can happen to him and he know all the parties involved in this. That's why, let me see, what was that first it was a first little, not a documentary, but like a little movie, not a movie either. What was the name of that? Because they had so many, but RJ Bond was in there. It was a few other people. Even what's the little ambulance chaser guy? Look, I've been drinking, so y'all forgive me. I'm chilling at home. Cypress, help me out. I know you know what I'm talking about.
I can't think of nobody, but I know who you talking about. I
The
can't think of
ambulance chaser, attorney Ben Crump, that one.
Okay.
Yeah, like they could have solved this stuff way back when Russell Poole was on the case, solved the case, and all that before they made him go away. Even Kevin Hackey, it goes back to 2000. What was that? 2002 or 2009?
It was like
With the Nick Broomfield documentary.
right. Cause Hackey said I can have them all locked up in 24 hours.
Exactly.
Right. I remember. I watched all them documentaries from the Last Man Standing.
And you know Kevin Hackey was threatened too.
Yeah, they told me, yeah. Well, he
And
wasn't gonna leave
he
Vegas.
was a bounty hunter.
Yeah, they told him he wasn't gonna leave Vegas and keep on bullshit.
And work for the feds. He had to get up on the stand and tell a lie.
Yep. But my thing,
That was regarding the Biggie case. But he still had Tupac information because he was around. Remember?
Yeah, he was there for me.
Well, I'm gonna say this: if niggas can't talk and speak on it, and how y'all feel? How y'all feel like they gonna solve this? Russell Poole dead.
RJ Bond have all Russell Poole files.
Yeah.
Is he the laws or he just a YouTuber?
No,
Well, his dad is an ex-police officer, and he been helping work in this case for beginning of time. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say.
Okay.
Yeah, Russell Poole wife gave him all the files that Russell Poole had.
Right, he had some already when Russell was alive, but his wife, Russell Poole wife, ended up giving the rest of the files to RJ Bond.
Or carpet head, as RW would say.
I'm just saying, how can I say? I'm not optimistic about it, fam. Really not. Um, don't nobody want to say nothing. And the people that tried to say something, they did.
Yeah, a lot of people have lost their life behind this.
Mm-hmm. Suge sending a message. If they keep playing with him, he's about to tell everything. Well, he needs to. It's been too long, man. And I'm to be quite honest with you, that's why I stopped following this. And I'm a diehard Tupac fan, but I had to stop looking at this shit because niggas is they basically bird feeding information. And what's gonna happen is all these fools gonna die off, including Keefy D, and ain't nothing gonna come out. So it's just like, man, 30 years was a long time, y'all.
I blame Las Vegas Police Department.
Yeah.
They had arrested Orlando Anderson back in the day, like when it was still fresh. Brung him in for questioning, but then let him go. They got a lot of information that they have not released to the public. And I don't know why they've been sitting on this stuff. They got, they have cameras everywhere. They know what's going on.
Yeah, they just say saying it. This is my thing. This was getting me about this whole case. Keefe Lee been around here parading around, promoting damn book, and saying he did this, but the whole time Vegas PD been sitting on the fact that he implicated Reggie in this whole thing.
Right. And let's just go back. Now, you remember Orlando Anderson homeboy who was on another I guess documentary or whatever. I cannot think of his name right now. The one where they claimed that they found the gun in his backyard that the dog had got a hold of or whatever, some crap. But anyway, he had made a statement that night and said that Orlando Anderson was with him at the bar during the time of the shooting. So he was not there. And it's a famous basketball player that was at the same club gave a statement too and said Orlando Anderson and his homeboy was there.
Yeah, Stacey Alban from the Atlanta Hawks, so that's exactly who they said it was.
Yeah. So that's why I'm saying Las Vegas Police Department dropped the ball on this stuff and also RJ Bond showed the medical records that belong to Orlando Anderson saying that he had went to the hospital. It was either Sunrise Hospital over there in Las Vegas for shoulder injury. So how could he even shoot a gun if he got an injured shoulder?
Case 21. That's the answer right there. Oh boy. You're not supposed to find out when it's the FBI and CIA and the police who took out Tupac Biggie to cover it up while using Diddy and Suge to do it. That's it. That's it. All in a nutshell.
Yeah.
That's it right there.
Well, the police department for sure.
Well, I tell you. Yeah. So this is if Suge's scared of anybody, he's scared of these folk. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah. Well, it would start with LAPD first, then move up the ladder. Because he got connection with Reggie Wright.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where he messed up at. Even what's the name told him he shouldn't have never hired Reggie for security when he know he had homeboy security and they had run-ins with Reggie. Right. And I had to agree with him on that. And that was Mob James. My bad. Yeah.
Yeah. Russell Poole. Tamara. There you go. Russell Poole.
A lot of the homeboys can't really speak and say nothing. That's why they keep it cool with Reggie, because Reggie got them by the grippers. You know what I'm just saying? Because he know a lot of them guys and what they have done that can land them in prison. So they not finna say nothing.
Yeah. So all of this is about nothing actually. And I hate to say it like that, but when you look at it in totality, all of this is about nothing. Justice is muzzled on this. And it ain't been out in 30 years. And all we're gonna be able to do is look through paperwork and pass he say, she say, and speculation. Because just like Casey said, them people did it. And when them people do it, hell, Trump said he finna unseal the files of Martin Luther King and John F. Kennedy. And them folk been out of here for 60 years.
Well, allegedly, John F. Kennedy, quote unquote, is not deceased. But anyway, that's a whole other story.
Whole other story. Griff, what it do, home? Ain't nah. Yep.
I think they gonna get Trump out of here. Trump do that. I ain't shit. I like Trump. Trump
Hey,
gonna get him out of here.
do you remember when he first was in office? He told Obama, find out who killed Tupac and Biggie. Oh my God.
D. Crawford, what's good, man? I said Orlando was the last witness to that situation. Now, there's a few others. They out of here too, though.
It's a couple of them still living.
King Von.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of his friend name, the one who gave a testimony. Not a testimony, a statement. That was with Orlando, and then when they was in Vegas, he said Orlando did not do the shoot, did not do the pow pow, because we was sitting at the bar, and then they had the basketball player even co-signing that he seen them two at the bar. And this is the same guy that they said that they had found the pow pow in his backyard. Now you know that was a lie, because when they took the pow pow to Vegas for ballistic testing and all that, it was not the weapon.
So, Marion, we can go down a rabbit hole for real on both of them. I know the alphabet people did it just like MLK and JFK and the rest. Well, in regards to MLK, they used the Memphis.
Jesse Jackson.
They used the Memphis police. Yep.
They fire them shots from across the street.
Mm-hmm.
Because Dick Gregory was on it and was talking.
Man, we can go down through there.
Yeah.
Yep. Who's scared? That's who should scared of. Pac is the child of a panther with power to move and gather black people. So yeah, they had a bag on his head since
Yeah, Pac been a target.
right. Mm-hmm.
Even with the little incident that he had with getting beat up by the police in Oakland, Johnny Cochran was representing him in that case.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that whole MLK thing, man, come on, man. Oof. We can go down through that now.
The cold boy about this Trump, no ain't nobody gonna go here for them. I think they're gonna get him out of here and put them out, though. I ain't gonna lie.
Man.
I think they're gonna go and send him to the upper room.
behind.
Well, only time I tell
Hey,
with that.
choose your words wisely. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, for real. Let's see here. Let's see here. Give me 1 second, y'all. I'm looking through some stuff.
Yes, I don't really know how this Keefy D thing finna play out because, like I said, he didn't put Reggie on the platter, and what's his name? The ex FBI Phil Carson is still on the scene.
Yeah, he's still around.
Oh yeah, definitely. And man, now that live he did with him, he had to tell him. he
Yeah,
shut
like,
him. He shut him down because he didn't want to spill the beans on Reggie, but he didn't. I'm trying to be respectful, so y'all forgive me.
well, he come on, hey, man, you sound at 137, man. Yeah, you one of them.
Exactly. And then he even gave a definition of the two types. One, if they go to court, they can't even tell the judge who they confidential informant is. That's one. I forgot what the code number is for that. And then the what is it? The 137? Yeah. I was like, whoa, yeah, I love Phil Carson. He's no joke. And he's been working with RJ Bond on some behind the scenes stuff too.
He worked with RJ Body, lives over with the show.
Yeah.
So let me ask y'all this.
Mm-hmm.
I wanna switch topics if y'all don't mind.
I don't mind. We here.
We got 3 ways to go. We can go MLK. Yeah, how y'all feel about MLK? Y'all wanna review that?
Let's go.
Y'all let me know. Chat, how y'all feel about reacting to MLK and what really happened? Let me know something. I'm waiting on y'all.
Tam says she wanna know where her big daddy at.
It is. I hear you, man. Everybody feeling MLK. Okay. Yeah. That's deep. When I tell you, yeah, that's deep. Yeah, absolutely. There you go. There you go. There you go. Mm-hmm. Bunch of good old boys. Bunch of good old boys. And the crazy part about it is the rifle that they said hit MLK, quote unquote, came from right over here in Central Plaza in Birmingham. Yeah, yeah. Came right out the city, man. All right. T. Crawford said speak on it. I'm gonna see. I'm gonna see. And then after that, we'll go to something else that I wanted to talk about. Basically, I was there. You go. So after that, we'll talk about I know Memphis native. What it do? I know that Miss T was talking about Big 30 and how he need to stop doing this, doing that. I think Big 30 have really cleaned up for real. Um, we're gonna get into that too. So, oh man. So we're gonna go into MLK. One more thing about Pac. Choke No Joke said today that the news had said Reggie Wright Jr. had something to do with an orchestrated shooting of Tupac on his YouTube page today. So they're looking into it, putting it on Reggie too. That's crazy. I might have to go check Choke out.
Oh shoot! So you know it's about to be some mess.
Right.
Yeah, choke. Inserted himself. He did insert himself into this for the last couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he been on one, and I don't like that situation with him and Gene Deal going back and forth on some petty stuff. Let that shit go.
Genius Quill.
Yeah.
Well, it could be the same said for Choke No Joke in his situation.
Both of them some clowns, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Now I like Gene to a certain extent. I don't know the man personally, but I do like his content. When shit, I've been watching him since what was that? The Nick Broomfield documentary. That was back in 2002.
All right.
Because he was there and he told his side of the story.
In Montgomery, our home was bombed twice. Today, we still confront threats through telephone calls and through the mail.
It's 1964, and a package has just been sent to Martin Luther King Jr.'s house in Atlanta, Georgia. The package contains reels of tape, and on that tape, there's blackmail, as well as this one-page letter. The letter is written in the voice of one of King's supporters. It's riddled with typos and corrections. And the letter tells King that he...
If y'all don't know this, the letter that the CIA sent him telling him to go on, you know what I'm saying, blick himself down because, you know what I'm saying, he's a despicable human being.
Should, quote, look into his heart because he is, quote, a complete fraud, a great liability to Black people. It refers to the tapes that are in this package, which is an audio supercut of evidence showing King committing adulterous acts, sexual encounters with his girlfriends and mistresses. The letter calls him a, quote, dissolute, abnormal, moral imbecile, abnormal animal, a beast. What incredible evilness. Satan could not do more. The letter tells King that his end is approaching and that he has just one thing left to do. And he knows what it is. He has 34 days in which to do it. This letter, insinuating that Martin Luther King Jr. should end his own life, was not sent by a disenchanted follower, and it was not typical hate mail. This letter was sent by some of the most powerful men in the United States, the top leaders of the FBI.
And them boys hated that man. Shout out to Johnny Harris for this dope documentary, man.
And of course, I received numerous threatening letters. You and your family will be killed.
Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was shot and killed tonight in Memphis, Tennessee.
More than half of Americans don't buy the official account that a lone racist gunman was behind the death of Martin Luther King on that day in Memphis in the late 1960s. That number is more like 88% for Black Americans. Those who don't believe it include the ones that were standing next to him when it happened. They include his family. An exhaustive congressional investigation found that King's murder was, quote, likely a conspiracy.
Snakes everywhere. Absolute conspiracy. Listen, y'all, we are 2 away from 6K. If you in the bushes and you're not subscribed, do your boy a favor and subscribe. Let's go.
But there's actually a lot more to the story than who pulled the trigger. And thanks to recently declassified documents, thousands of them that we've been going through, we can now shed a light on the FBI in the 1960s, what they were up to, and what that teaches us about who really killed Martin Luther King. Before we move on, a quick note from our sponsor. Sponsors allow us to do these deep dives where we spend months.
That's crazy work, ain't it, Casey?
So, in the late 1960s, here in America, there was a secret war going on between these two men. One of them wielded the immense, opaque power of the United States' Federal Bureau of Investigations. The other man belonged to America's long oppressed minority and fought this war using the weapons of compelling words and a deep philosophical commitment to nonviolent protest.
My feeling is that the vast majority of Negroes in the United States believe in nonviolence as a basic tactic for social change. Nonviolence. The nonviolence is really the only way that we can follow.
That if every Negro in the United States turns against nonviolence, I'm going to stand up as a lone voice and say this is the wrong way.
In 1960s America, nonviolence turned out to be an incredibly powerful tool for waging this struggle, because it always resulted in the same thing, the inevitable crackdown of excessive violence by law enforcement and counter-protesters. And when that was then covered and shown to the general population, it was so starkly clear who was right and who was wrong in the situation.
And that's a fact. A lot of people from up north and even some people down south said, man, want us to get our head beat in, but better than you get your head beat in on camera so that people can see it and it make a change than for you to take up arms and try to bucket these folk and they drop whole bombs on your neighborhood. They done did it before. As Philadelphia.
Situation.
King felt from a strategy in terms of changing the hearts and minds of America, watching young boys and girls and teenagers and adults be beaten, posed, shot, murdered, maimed for simply wanting to exercise their rights as citizens. These images were very powerful.
You've got to keep the white and the black separate.
Yeah, man, here. Eugene Connor, otherwise known as Bull, former mayor of Birmingham, Alabama.
A visual spectacle that represented what Black Americans knew all too well was how they were treated by the American system. But now it was just public. King led 40,000 to protest segregated buses for over a year, resulting in the desegregation of public buses in Montgomery, Alabama. He went to the most segregated city in America to lead sit-ins in segregated restaurants and lunch counters. Protesters would peacefully kneel in churches and libraries. They marched on City Hall. And King would always get up with his powerful, stirring words to remind these protesters.
We get into it, y'all. Just give them a second. We get into it.
About the importance of their core philosophy.
We go back to the buses. Let us be loving enough to turn an enemy into a friend. Nonviolent protest against injustices and indignities experienced.
The idea that you were going to bludgeon
your... Go forward, y'all. I don't want to...
So remember, it's the 1960s. It's the Cold War. There's an obsession with finding communist sympathizers. Anyone who is sympathetic to our big...
Bull Connor. He probably was. The crazy part about it, he wasn't even the mayor. He was the public works commissioner or something like that. But it was a sports broadcaster, and he basically finagled his way into being the mayor. Ain't that crazy?
Big enemy, the Soviet Union. And the director of the FBI at the time was named J. Edgar Hoover. He would be the director of the FBI for like decades. So as King's movement grew, Hoover became suspicious that the movement wasn't a grassroots rising up for equality and racial justice, but rather a communist plot to sow division in American society. So it's 1963, Martin Luther King and his followers are planning this massive march in Washington, D.C., and Hoover tasks his head of domestic intelligence, William Sullivan, to go out and investigate how much influence the Communist Party has over this movement. And 5 days before the March on Washington,
Vernon Jones, you talking about the old pastor for Dexter Avenue.
Sullivan delivers this report. The report concludes that even though the Soviet Union had spent tremendous sums of money and time and issued lots of propaganda to try to infiltrate this movement, that in fact there was, quote, no known substantial implementation of communism within King's movement. The movement was about racial inequality in America, a real pressing issue. Communism had nothing to offer and nothing to do with it, says this report that was delivered to Hoover 5 days before the March on Washington. But you can see right here, Hoover didn't like it. You can see right here at the bottom of the memo, this is Hoover's handwriting in this declassified document. It's kind of an angry moment. Communism's influence on King isn't infinitesimal, as Sullivan's report had concluded. Sullivan says that Hoover was so mad about this that he stopped talking to Sullivan for months. Sullivan had to, quote, change our ways or we would all be out on the streets, give Hoover what he wanted, or risk the consequences. And what Hoover wanted was King to be tied to communism so that he would have an excuse to spy on him.
99% of people, unfortunately, they don't go to their boss and say, you are a horrible affront to human decency. I will quit this job rather than carry out your directive. They go and they do their job. They say, oh yeah, you were right, boss.
And soon, the FBI would give him exactly what he wanted.
They called it the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. In the lead, Martin Luther King.
Today, many of these people are receiving millions of dollars in federal subsidies not to farm, and they are the very people telling the black man that he ought to lift himself by his own bootstraps.
Determination.
Yeah, they couldn't stand too much of that talking. You know what I'm saying? You want to sit up and, you know, get your a vanilla malt, you know what I'm saying, an old milkshake in the Woolworth. Yeah, we all right, we got you. But you talking about coming to get your check? Oh, hell no. Hell no. We got to get him gone.
Forget J. Edgar Hoover. I seen it was a YouTube video. Like, he don't even claim his black family.
Yeah. People argued me up and down when I told them that J. Edgar Hoover is indeed a part black.
Yes, he is.
Right.
With his raggedy ASS.
Right.
American society shall have no rest until it is a society of free men, whatever their color.
Where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character.
2 days after the March on Washington, Sullivan begins his repentance process by delivering this memo from W.C. Sullivan, August 30th, 1963. Sullivan, who again just produced this big report saying that King had nothing to do with communism, has changed his tune just a few days later. Turns out that the Communist Party does wield substantial influence over black people in America. And that in light of King's powerful demagogic speech, oh, and by the way, the demagogic speech he's talking about is this one.
I have a dream.
King now stands head and shoulders over all other black leaders in the country, that we must mark him now as the most dangerous black person in the nation from the standpoint of communism, race, and national security. The plan would be, according to Sullivan, to completely discredit him, to, quote, take him off his pedestal. The thing is, they were kind of stuck. They didn't have a great plan for putting down this movement.
That's why I keep telling y'all, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., even the young brother in Chicago, Illinois, that they took out at 21 years old by the name of the chairman, Fred Hampton. There are no more true black leaders. And if I didn't mention your name, I'm talking about you.
King had achieved the moral high ground, and so they needed to fight morality with morality. they could undermine him and his moral philosophy, then just maybe they could stop his movement, so that the African American community would be, quote, left without a national leader to steer them in the proper direction. So Hoover and his agents cook up some thin evidence that tie Martin Luther King to communism, and they get approval from the Attorney General to spy on King. But what they don't tell the Attorney General is that they're not actually looking for communism. There is no communism here, and they know that. What they're looking for is whatever they can get to take him off his pedestal. Okay, what we are looking at here is a list of every wiretap and bug that was put on Martin Luther King. Side note, whenever I see these big blocks of redacted text, I just have to know, like, what could have been so juicy that they had to black it out? Like, we're already looking at, like, the sins of the FBI, and there was something even more secret that we just will never see. Too bad. We're looking at wiretaps.
Oh, we're
which
gonna
is
see it.
basically the ability to listen in on phone conversations at a variety of locations. There's his home in Georgia, and then there's a couple hotels in California. There's a home in New York City, and then there's a bunch of microphones. Microphone or bug is just when the FBI trespasses into someone's space and puts a microphone that then records everything that happens in that space. So you see them doing this at the Willard Hotel here in Washington, D.C., hotels in California and Hawaii, hotels in New York City. So the main tactic here was to follow MLK as he traveled around the country and to bug and tap his hotel and telephone and spy on everything he said, every person he talked to. Here in the middle of all of these memos, you have this handwritten note to the director saying, obviously, these are particularly delicate surveillances. We should be very cautious in terms of non-FBI people who may from time to time necessarily be involved in some aspect of installation. Like, we gotta really keep this under wraps because it is totally not okay what we're doing. In short, what they created was, quote, the most complete surveillance imaginable. Unsurprisingly, even after all of this spying, they didn't find communism. There was no communism here. What they did find is exactly what they needed to, quote, take him off his pedestal. They found sex tapes. These FBI documents that were declassified a few years ago contain the summaries of what the FBI agents say that they heard on these tapes. We don't have the actual tapes yet. And they paint a picture of Dr. King as a womanizer with girlfriends and prostitutes in Las Vegas, New York, Washington, D.C. These memos say that King would get excessively drunk and sleep with women while using, quote, the vilest language imaginable, excessive consumption of alcohol, which served only as a backdrop to the acts of degeneracy and depravity, many of which committed in a communal atmosphere. I mean, it's a lot of graphic descriptions, some of which don't shine a good light on Dr. King. Running naked, drunk, white prostitutes up and down the halls of a hotel in Las Vegas.
They saw his alleged infidelity as...
You believe that if you want to. I don't give a damn what nobody say. Even if it is true. Walk down Highway 80 from Selma, Alabama to Montgomery, Alabama, this time at night. Get tired and pitch you a tent on the side of the road and go to sleep without a cell phone, without any communication. That's what Dr. King did. That man should not have to have paid for a meal, a cigarette, or nothing else in his life. People with melanin in their skin owe him a debt of gratitude. That's just my thoughts. And I go to my grave feeling that way.
Exactly the kind of deviance that would allow them to stigmatize the broader Black community, to undermine King's leadership, put his life in turmoil, make him unable to do this job, and to diminish his standing among the broader public.
This surveillance, which again was supposed to be about communism connections was used to gather a whole swath of ammunition for this war, where Hoover and Sullivan were trying to knock King off of his moral pedestal, to undermine the morality that made King's movement so powerful and unstoppable. But wait, really quick, we can't really move on before we talk about how to think about this evidence. And we struggle with this a lot. We talk to a lot of different people with different views on how they interpret this. And here's my take. Okay, these documents in most stories that I do would be rock solid. This is FBI intelligence, declassified, and usually these analysts are reporting dispassionate, objective evidence that we can use. The problem here is that I know too much about the context surrounding how this intelligence was gathered and the motive for doing so. Future investigations would clearly state that the FBI was riddled with racism and that it was a bunch of white agents all jockeying for the approval of their leader, J. Edgar Hoover, a man who we know now in black and white we have seen was willing to ignore analysis and intelligence that contradicted his own personal views. And he was willing to drag the entire Bureau along with his theories.
So let me just ask this question. If Donald J. Trump and J. Edgar Hoover are one of a kind, why are they releasing or unsealing these documents? How do y'all feel about that? How y'all feel about them unsealing these documents?
It's crazy.
Okay.
And why now?
Right. Right. I agree. Why now? Cypress, you still with us?
They need to be talking about J. Edgar Hoover, who has black family members that he didn't want them to know that he had black in him because he was running for president or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I say F him.
For sure.
Because me personally, I'm not a racist because I have a lot of biracial family members and I love my family. And plus, even people I worked with, people I know personally who are not black, we got love for one another.
Right. No, I agree. I got Caucasian people that I rock with as well. But this is crazy. But let's not forget who stood behind him too. Bayard Rustin gets glossed over because that's facts. That's facts. Real talk. Saying you think it'll be a good thing. I just wonder what is the motive behind it. You know, when he said he was going to unseal these documents, the King family was quick to reach out and said, "We want to see what y'all are unsealing, if you don't mind." You know what I mean?
Right. And I don't blame them.
Yeah.
Because what's really going on? Don't be trying to use him for something else.
Right. And I don't think they are trying to discredit him. I think, like K-Dog said, the people that are at the helm right now, they are doing their very best to strike up distrust for the way things have been done to usher in a whole new way of doing things. And I think it's very dangerous, but you know what I'm saying? We're gonna see.
Disagreeing with him meant being out on the streets. The agency would produce what he wanted to hear, or there would be consequences. So when I read these reports from agents who go out with the mandate to collect evidence that will knock Martin Luther King off of his pedestal, I have kind of a hard time trusting how they interpret it, especially when I'm not looking at the primary source. I'm looking at agents' interpretation of audio recordings. These aren't transcripts. These are summaries. They're not visual. They're audio. And to
Right. Absolutely. They are recordings. And so you put a microphone in a lampshade by the wall at the Lorraine Motel, there ain't no telling what you're gonna hear. The Lorraine Motel wasn't the Holiday Inn. You know what I'm saying?
Right. It was a motel.
Yeah, and it was the only place that a lot of blacks could even go at the time.
Right.
So you might have a preacher in one room, and in the next room, you got somebody paying by the hour, if that makes sense.
Right. That part right there.
Mm-hmm.
To me, they're tainted with deep racist bias. As someone who seeks truth and looks for evidence, that's a problem. Now, in 2027, all of...
And you're right. Absolutely right, Divine Black Rose. It's going to show that a lot of people that been held in high regard may have had a hand in this as well.
The tapes will be released. And at that point, we will have the opportunity to listen to those tapes and assess whether or not they change in any way our legacy and our view of Martin Luther King as an individual. But for now, this is not conclusive evidence for me of anything other than the abuse of power at the FBI.
Cypress, you see?
Since 1964, the FBI has been spying on King's every move. They have all these reports of his adulterous behavior, and this is when Hoover's nightmare comes true. Martin Luther King Jr. is selected to receive the Nobel Peace Prize, the ultimate moral high ground. Hoover writes a letter to Sullivan saying, now is the time to act, to expose him. And it's just a couple days later when the FBI sends that package to King's house in Atlanta, with the tapes filled with sexual blackmail and a letter insinuating that it was time for King to end his own life in the next 34 days. We know for certain that this letter came from the FBI. It's like not speculation. A copy of the letter was found in Sullivan's files, though he claims that it was planted there. But what we don't know is exactly what was on those tapes. The tapes were also sent to the media, who didn't end up publishing them. But they also didn't expose the fact that the FBI was spying on Martin Luther King. It was a different media environment back then. But what we do know is that Hoover's plan to end King by gathering all this blackmail and sending it to his house didn't work. King was distraught. It was his wife who opened the package, heard the tapes. But King didn't stop. He was not knocked off his pedestal. King continues to Oslo. He receives his prize. Suddenly, he's Person of the Year on the front of magazines, and he continues to lead a variety of social justice causes. His list of enemies continues to grow, especially as he joins the chorus of anti-Vietnam War protesters.
We have been wrong from the beginning of our adventure in Vietnam. We have been detrimental to the life of the Vietnamese people. There is something about a war like this that makes people insensitive. It dulls the conscience.
Boy, this was another stance that he took that, you know, they had to accelerate whatever plan that they had. They had to put it in motion ASAP.
It strengthens the forces of reaction, and it brings into being bitterness and hatred and violence.
His movement expands into representing poor and underserved people of all races. He plans to lead another march on Washington, this one bigger than the last. About a month before this next big march on Washington was to happen, King was in Memphis, Tennessee, supporting the strike of mostly Black trash collectors, protesting the lack of safety standards and their low pay. And that night, Martin Luther King gave his last speech.
We've got some difficult days ahead, but it really doesn't matter with me now. Like anybody, I would like to live a long life. Longevity has its place, but I'm not concerned about that now. I just want to do God's will. And he's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And
I haven't seen him yet, Jack. I think they get released. I want to say the beginning of May. I want to say, but they're gonna release John F. Kennedy's first.
Looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land. So I'm happy tonight. I'm not worried about anything. I'm not fearing any man. Mine eyes have seen the glory of the coming of the Lord.
That night, he returned to his hotel, staying in a room that he stayed in so often that it was actually named after him. And at 6:01 p.m. on April 4th, 19...
So, word was out. They coming. He actually got a room on the bottom floor that wasn't so exposed. Something happened to where they moved him back to his original room. Yeah.
He's 68.
And according to Dick Gregory, that what's his name? Jesse Jackson, which my dad ended up going to school with his brother. But anyway, long story short, that he was the one who pointed out the tie or told him to wear a certain tie. It was something of that nature. Have you seen that?
I haven't.
We be all news on YouTube. That's where a lot of Dick Gregory interviews was, because when I came on YouTube back in 2011, I came across his page and was watching all Dick Gregory interviews, right? And he mentioned that Jesse Jackson pointed out the tie or assisted in the tie for MLK to wear that day, so they know what was what.
I can believe that.
I'm like, wow.
Single shot rang out, hitting King in the jaw. He was rushed to the hospital and pronounced dead an hour later.
Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, 39 years old and a Nobel Peace Prize winner, and the leader of the nonviolent civil rights movement in the United States, was assassinated in Memphis tonight. A sniper's bullet cut down Dr. King as he stood on a hotel balcony in Memphis. Within an hour, Dr. King was dead. That happened at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. The nation was shocked.
All right, y'all. We're gonna jump a little bit deeper down this rabbit hole now. If y'all still in here rocking with me, I appreciate
Cypress, you know, I think he's sleep because he ain't said nothing in a minute.
Nah, he's sleep. He definitely sleep.
Poor Cypress. He too young to be like an old man. Nah, I ain't gonna do him like that because I know how it be. Shit, people get tired, but shit, he slept all day. He said he should be up unless he on a phone call. Cypress, wake your ass up. Say something. Oh my. Nah, it's cool. We can rock out without Cypress saying anything. I ain't gonna do him like that. He might be on the phone or he probably went to sleep.
All right, y'all. Here we go. This is Wendy Goon and Buddy. He puts it together like none other. Now y'all know the story. Now let's go behind the story. Salute to everybody that's rocking with me. G Money, I appreciate you. You said it's a fire ass live. I appreciate you. LaShannon, salute to you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, we finna get into this, man, because this is crazy, fam. And the hatred that it took to pull.
Let's get into it, and shout out to everybody that's still in the chat.
All right.
Hey, y'all.
Yeah, we on it. We on it.
Make sure we're all on the same page. I'm going to start by giving the FBI's official account of what happened, and then after that, I'll explain why it's all a lie. As a joke, of course. For starters, Martin Luther King Jr. was a civil rights leader who was not only an effective speaker and leader within the civil rights movement, but was also no stranger to death threats. As a matter of fact, in 1958, he was stabbed in the chest and was nearly killed. And in 1963, after the assassination of John F. Kennedy, he told his wife, Coretta King, quote, "This is what's going to happen to me also. I keep telling you, this is a sick society." King would also travel with other members of his organization, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, and go to different cities across the U.S. where King would speak at different rallies and protests. In 1968, King, along with a group of members from that association, came to Memphis, Tennessee as part of a sanitation workers rally. Now, there had been a long history of black city workers within Memphis, Tennessee being underpaid and put into harsh labor conditions. However, the event that sparked this particular rally was the death of 2 sanitation workers who died while on the job, and their family was not given any insurance payout for their death. So King,
the fact that these folks had to hide inside of the garbage trucks in the back where the crushers were to keep from getting rained on is just diabolical, fam.
King led a march in Memphis on March the 28th, and then planned to lead another march after that during the following week. On April 3rd, King stood in front of the Mason Temple in Memphis, Tennessee, and gave his famous "I've been to the mountaintop" speech.
To do God's will. And He's allowed me to go up to the mountain. And I've looked over and I've seen the promised land. I may not get there with you, but I want you to know tonight that we as a people will get to the promised land.
The next day, on April the 4th of 1968, King was staying in room 306 of the Lorraine Motel. Another pastor who traveled with King, a man by the name of Ralph Abernathy, said that they stayed in that specific room so often whenever they visited Memphis that it was nicknamed the King Abernathy Suite. The group was getting ready to go to
clout chasing. Ralph Abernathy had to put his name on that. Ralph Abernathy is a clout chasing ass dude, man. Salute to Ralph Abernathy.
Dinner before King was set to deliver another speech that night, and his final words, officially at least, were to the musician Ben Branch, in which King said, "Ben, make sure you play Take My Hand, Precious Lord in the meeting tonight. Play it real pretty." King then leaned over the balcony on the second floor of the Lorraine Motel to speak to Jesse Jackson, who was standing in the parking lot beneath. At that moment, at 6:01 p.m., a shot rang out which struck King in the right cheek. It immediately broke his jaw and several vertebrae while severing the veins and arteries in his neck. King was immediately knocked out.
It lifted him off of his feet, fam. It didn't knock him backwards. It lifted him off of his feet. So the fact that Andy Young, Jesse Jackson, and that FBI informant that's got his hands on him are pointing toward the sky at an elevated position to the Flophouse bathroom is totally incorrect. And it leads me to believe that they were in on the play as well.
However, one of his colleagues who was holding his head as he was bleeding found that he had a pulse, and he was immediately taken to the St. Joseph's Hospital. However, there, Martin Luther King was officially declared dead at 7:05 p.m. on April the 4th of 1968. The police were quick to arrive on scene and concluded that the shot had been fired from the bathroom window of a boarding house across the street from the Lorraine Motel. Immediately next to the boarding house, the police found a bed sheet which contained someone's personal clothing and a sort of overnight bag, as well as a Remington 760 Game Master rifle. Within the pump action 30-06 was an empty rifle casing, indicating that someone had fired the gun and not ejected the old casing. The rifle, as well as the belongings in the bedsheet, were covered in the fingerprints of someone identified as James Earl Ray. James Earl Ray was an escaped convict from Jackson City, Missouri, who was arrested and serving 20 years for robbing a grocery store before he broke out of jail. Not only that, but in the aforementioned boarding house, one of the rooms was being rented by James Earl Ray. He was on the run for 2 months before he was caught in London at the Heathrow Airport as he was trying to board a plane to Rhodesia. After his arrest on March the 10th of 1969, Ray, in order to avoid the death penalty, pleaded guilty to the first-degree murder of MLK. The FBI concluded that the reason for this murder was that James Earl Ray was poor and there was a bounty put out by racist Southerners for the killing of Martin Luther King Jr.
The Dixie Mafia. But even that's incorrect.
In a book titled He Slew the Dreamer, which came out shortly after the death of MLK, the author says that James Earl Ray was a very racist and hateful person who was trying to collect a bounty from members of the KKK for the murder of MLK. So this all sounds pretty cut and dry, right? A civil rights leader was killed by a racist person trying to collect a bounty, and his fingerprints were found on all the stuff, and he pleaded guilty to it, right? No, and here's why. 3 days after he confessed to first-degree murder, Ray fired his attorney and said that his attorney told him that if he does not immediately confess to killing MLK, they'll either give him the death penalty or someone will kill him quicker.
Came in with a paper, one of the signing saying that, we'd enter a guilty plea. He gave me a list of reasons why we should enter a plea. He also said the newspaper done convicted me by pretrial publicity. And so I told him I didn't think that was the grounds for entering a guilty plea because I thought we could overcome some of this adverse publicity during the trial. His next gambit was that if I didn't enter a guilty plea, they might put my brother Jerry Ray in prison as a co-conspirator. And he also indicated that if I forced him to trial, he wouldn't put forth his best efforts.
Through his new attorney, William Pepper, Ray said that he believes he accidentally assisted with the murder of Martin Luther King Jr., and he believes that he himself was a victim in a larger conspiracy.
And that's absolutely right. Tamara, you're going to love the way this thing develops. Just keep watching. Promise you.
In the following years, there were several requests for Ray to have a retrial, although for reasons we'll get into in a bit, none of those really panned out. And there was no significant headway made in the case until the King family themselves, who had been doing their own research to the side, came to the conclusion that James Earl Ray was an innocent man, or at least innocent for killing King. He still robbed a grocery store, but I don't really think that matters at this point. In 1997, Dexter King, the son of Martin Luther King, went to the Brushy Mountain State Penitentiary in order to meet James Earl Ray. Whenever the two met, Dexter said, "I just want to know, for the record, did you kill my father?" To which James Earl Ray replied, no, I didn't. And Dexter said, "I know, and my whole family knows." Over the next few years, the King family fought vehemently for James Earl Ray to get a retrial. And in 1999, Coretta King, the wife of Martin Luther King, along with her family, sued Lloyd Jowers, which I'll explain who he is in a little bit, along with the entirety of the federal government for committing a conspiracy to murder MLK, to which, as I mentioned earlier, they won the case. The case took place in Shelby County, Tennessee, and the lawyer that represented the King family was William Pepper, the aforementioned second attorney for James Earl Ray. During the case, Pepper brought in over 70 witnesses and 4,000 pages of transcripts.
Now, to let you know how convinced they were of what he is saying right now, William Pepper was a part of the civil rights movement with Dr. King, and he defended James Earl Ray. See, they knew what it was, and it's crazy, fam. The way this is going, man, I'm gonna let y'all see it.
To which, according to him, in those transcripts, those who were a part of the conspiracy were the FBI, the CIA, the U.S. Army, the Memphis Police Department, and the Mafia. The jury unanimously ruled in the King's family favor and awarded them $100. The reason it was $100 is because the Kings were very adamant that it was not about the money, it was just about proving that the government had something to do with Martin's murder. However, if this was justice for the King family, it didn't come soon enough for James Earl Ray, who died a year earlier in 1998 in prison due to an injury he received during a prison fight. So it seems like there's two completely stories happening here. On one hand, you have the pretty straightforward story of some racist whack job getting a rifle, killing Martin Luther King, and then getting arrested for it. But on the other side, you have the King family trying to get this guy out of jail, and then you have a lawyer who was an expert on both sides of the case, who then comes into court, brings all this evidence, and ends up winning with a jury saying that, yeah, the government definitely did it. So how are there two completely different things happening here? Well, your boy went through some of the records from that lawsuit, and for reasons I'll get into, 100% agree with the King family as well as the civil court ruling. Of course, as a joke, this is all satire. So in order to break all this down, let's look at the...
Now, him saying it's all a joke and it's satire is for his protection. But y'all, what my man Stan G say is all a legend for entertainment purposes. But y'all know what's real.
The specific moments leading up to and during the
Right. That's all they wanted, $100. They didn't care about the money. They wanted the truth. Mm-hmm.
I get that, but $100? Lord have mercy.
Shooting itself. The night before Martin Luther King was shot, James Earl Ray rented a room above a place known as Jim's Grill in a boarding house owned by a Bessie Brewer. The official story is that he stayed in the room that night, and then the next day he took his rifle down the hall to a communal bathroom that had a good view of the Lorraine Motel. He stood in the bathtub and fired the shot, and then jumped out, didn't eject the shell casing, ran back to his room and threw the rifle as well as his bag of clothes into the bedsheet, threw it all together with the bedsheet, put it on his back, and then ran out into the hall. He was then spotted by a man named Charles Quitman Stevens, who was the state's lead witness in this entire case. Charles said that he saw a man running out of the hotel, and he later ID'd it as James Earl Ray. Again, according to official reports, James Earl Ray was then walking down the street whenever he saw a cop car parked across the street, to which he panicked and dropped the bedsheet in front of the aforementioned department store. He then hopped into his white Mustang and sped away down the street. So to give a little illustration of it, this is not remotely drawn to scale or whatever, so I'm sorry, I promise I'm trying. The distance from the bathroom...
Y'all peep this out. Peep this out, fam.
Window, which is right here, to the spot King was at the motel was about 70 or 80 yards. According to that story, Ray was sitting in the bathroom window and fired his shot across the street at the motel balcony where King was staying. Everything here is taking place on the second floor of the building. So then Ray goes down the hallway into his room, gathers his stuff, puts it in the bedsheet, goes back out and down the staircase by Jim's Grill. That's when he begins walking down the street, and here at however you pronounce it, Amusement, he sees the cop supposedly, drops his bag right here, ducks the other direction to get into his vehicle parked somewhere over here, and then speeds off down the street going that direction. So let's talk about the first big issue in this entire case, and the one that should have been a red flag to the investigators, but wasn't, again, for reasons we'll talk about. The rifle that was in the bedsheet was never matched to the bullet that hit Martin Luther King.
That Remington 760 Game Master they've got in the Civil Rights Museum is not the murder weapon. The thing the state relied upon was the rifle, but modern scientific methodology excluded that rifle from being the murder weapon. The bullet they pull out of King's body has a rate of rifling twist of 1 turn in every 11 1/4 inches. The rifle that Ray had a rate of rifling twist of 1 turn in every 10 inches and a bad manufacturing defect that is not apparent on the death slug.
For those that don't know, the way that a rifle works is within the barrel itself, there is a series of grooves that spin the bullet and allow it to have a spiral and more accurate trajectory after it comes out of the barrel. While rifling is always similar on similar model of guns, the exact combination of what happens between the chamber and the bolt and the rifling and everything else is entirely unique to every single gun. And the most conclusive evidence they could say is that both the bullet that hit King as well as Ray's gun were probably the same model of rifle, which, yeah, there were literally millions of Remington 760s in the United States. That doesn't prove anything. The other hiccup in the story is that James Earl Ray's fingerprints were never found in his room or the bathroom that the shot was taken from. The bathroom detail can almost...
Listen to what he's saying. His fingerprints were not in the room or in the bathroom where he took the shot.
The government needed to frame somebody to exclude themselves.
Right. Absolutely right.
That part right there.
Mm-hmm.
If the window was already open, I could see him walking in there, standing in the tub, taking the shot, and then leaving. However, if he stayed in the room overnight, and as we're going to see in a bit, this guy was no criminal mastermind, he would have left a fingerprint or a hair or something in his wake. Furthermore, police were on the scene of the shooting within 2 minutes of whenever the shot was fired, and none of them reported ever having seen a white Mustang. This would mean that Ray would have to take the shot, run back to his room, pack his stuff, load it up, walk out of the hallway, go downstairs, go across the block, see the police, drop his bag, go the other direction, get in his car, and then speed off, all within 2 minutes. And to cast another shadow on that whole theory of what happened, Guy Canup, the guy who owned this store that James Earl Ray supposedly dropped his bag in front of, said that what happened, according to him, is someone walked up, dropped the bag in front of the store, calmly walked away, and then a couple minutes later, he heard the gunshot, meaning that that bag with the rifle that did not match the round that hit MLK, as well as James Earl Ray's personal belongings, were set up there before a shot was ever fired.
He was one
of
the first people to cast doubts on the state's case against Ray in his book, Cover Up.
That's ridiculous. He's required to have gone to his room in the flop house and picked up the widest collection of junk, bobby pins, cans of beer that hadn't been opened. A guy has been a crime like that and he's fleeing for his life. You're going to pick up a couple cans of beer or a bobby pin. The box didn't hold the rifle. He had to put the rifle in that. All sorts of other junk. And a ridiculous collection of it. The one thing that bundle served to do was to point a finger at Ray.
Another issue with that story is the logistics of the shot itself. As you can see from these pictures, wherever I decide to put them, Martin Luther King was standing on the balcony where you see the white wreath. He was leaned over it talking to someone in the parking lot below. And then, as you can see, the boarding house located across the street has several windows, one of those believed to be the one where Ray took the shot. However, for the logistics of that shot to have worked out...
Y'all see this? Y'all see this?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
He can't be in too many places at one time.
That's facts. And why would he walk in the opposite direction of his car to get away? Come on now. Just foolishness.
In the angle that the bullet trajectory says it did, Ray would have had to be standing on top of the bathtub and in a very awkward position. Even more so, at the time the shot would have been taken, there was a large tree just outside of the window that would have made it near impossible to see across the street to the motel, let alone get a shot through it.
But check this out.
I did talk to a Captain Tommy Smith, who retired as head of homicide for the Memphis Police Department, who was the first detective on the scene. He said the shot couldn't have been from the flop house. There was a limb about this thick growing diagonally through the window, and you couldn't even see the Lorraine Motel from that.
Don't worry, we'll talk about what happened to that tree in just a minute. So remember that guy, Charles Stevens, the state's lead witness, who said he saw Ray run out of the bathroom and then down the street? Well, Charles Stevens had been arrested 155 times, most of them due to alcoholism.
Now, think about the Andy Griffith Show and the drunk that used to come in there and let himself into the jail every weekend. Yeah, that's the state's lead witness on ID and James Earl Ray.
He was known for getting drunk in public and causing a wreck, and the police would have to bring him back home. At the time of the shooting, Stevens was drunk in a stupor, and as a matter of fact, he didn't come forward to police saying that he saw Ray until a bounty was put forward for $100,000 to anyone who can give police information. The police had already found the fingerprints on the gun, which were connected to the escaped convict, and said they were looking for James Earl Ray. So Stevens comes to the police and says, yeah, that Ray guy, I saw him. During an interview with a CBS journalist, the journalist held up a picture of James Earl Ray, and Stevens said, who is that? And the journalist said, this is the shooter, James Earl Ray. And Stevens said, oh, that wasn't the guy who was running out of the hotel.
The picture, does that look like the man?
Well, excuse me, from the glimpse that I got of his profile, it doesn't.
It doesn't?
No, sir. It certainly doesn't. For one thing, he's too heavy. His face is too full. He has too much hair. And his nose is too wide.
Again, remember, this was the state's lead witness. Not only that, he was the only witness who claimed to have seen James Earl Ray at the time of the shooting. And you may be thinking, well, shouldn't there have been more people around that saw someone do something during this time? Oh, there were. They just didn't see James Earl Ray. One of those people was Stevens' wife, who said that she heard a shot not from inside of the building, but from just outside the building's window. She said that she heard a shot from outside, looked out, and saw, quote, a short man with salt and pepper hair in an army jacket and plaid shorts. At the same time this was happening, a cab driver who lived in that building said he was walking in after work for the day, and as he passed the hallway, he looked into the communal bathroom where the shot supposedly was taken. He walked a few more feet into his room, heard a gunshot from outside, and then sprinted outside to see what had happened. Considering that he looked into the bathroom possibly seconds before the shot went off, that completely clears the idea of James Earl Ray standing in the bathtub. Now, it was true that Ray owned a white Mustang. However, what that same cab driver reported as being weird is that whenever he pulled up to the house, there were two white Mustangs parked a couple hundred feet from each other. At first, Ray was trying to remove himself from any sort of guilt and said that during the actual shooting, he was at a nearby service station. However, in later stories, it seemed that he was serving as the getaway driver for a man known as Raul. Now, we'll get into the whole mess of Raul in a second, but for now, let's keep talking about James Earl Ray. After the shooting, Ray realized that he was on the run for the murder of MLK. However, he was being financed by someone only known to him as Fat Man. For those close to the case, it was no secret that James Earl Ray wasn't exactly the most dedicated of assassins, and the only reason he was able to escape from prison is he was loading shipment boxes onto a truck, and one of the boxes was empty, so he just got inside, and then they just put the lid and never checked, and that's how he got out. But
so basically, they let him out. Okay, let's get that clear. And the Fat Man, that's your Dixie Mafia connection.
According to those who knew Ray, the stories about him were wildly untrue. As a matter of fact, according to his family, Ray had a black girlfriend for some time, which greatly contradicts the stories of a racist Southern KKK member that the media afterwards portrayed him as. Not only that, but Ray knew comedically little about guns. Whenever Ray went to the gun shop because he was told by somebody that I'll explain later to buy a 30-06 Remington 760. He bought a 243 instead because he didn't understand how calibers worked. He then had to return the gun and get the same model of rifle chambered in 30-06. Everyone in the gun store said he had absolutely no idea what he was talking about when it came to the scope he wanted on the rifle, or what he was looking for in a rifle, or anything like that. And while James Earl Ray was in the military, he had the lowest possible marksmanship score that someone can have and still qualify. Keep in mind, this is the same guy that the FBI would later state was able to give himself several fake IDs and passports and elude the largest investigation in the United States history for 2 months straight. We'll talk about James Earl Ray's full story in a moment, but for now, I want to ask the question you're probably thinking: if not Ray, then who took the shot? Well, there were two people who were staring at Martin Luther King the exact moment he was shot. They were his chauffeur and his attorney who were talking to him. They were each watching him as he was leaned over the balcony the moment the shot was taken, and both of them said that as soon as he was hit, his entire body shot upwards.
It is.
As a matter of fact, they each said that from the angle of the bathroom window, there was no way that they could have hit him in the lower right jaw, considering he was facing like this. Remember how I said Stephen's wife, who was staying in the boarding house, heard the shot from outside and then saw a man running by in the bushes? Well, she wasn't the only one. Reverend James Orange, who was with King at the moment of the shooting, said he looked over and saw in the bushes in front of the boarding house there was a plume of smoke that came up through the branches. Several other witnesses who were all walking the street at the time of the shooting said that they all heard a shot coming from the branches, and a couple people even reported seeing a man in a white shirt sprint around the back of the building.
I interviewed Solomon Jones in the lobby of the St. Joseph Hospital approximately about 7:05. This was the story he told all of us. As soon as the shot was fired, he looked out over the limousine. He saw a sniper with a white sheet on his face duck back down into the bushes. A few seconds later, he rose out of the bushes without the sheet, walked to the wall, jumped down from the wall. And you must understand that other people were coming out of the fire station at the same time, jumping from the wall. Solomon said this person he saw in the bushes joined in with the people jumping from the wall, jumped from the wall, walked on the premises, and he said he was scared.
There was a firehouse located in the general vicinity of all of this, and one woman said that she saw a fireman trying to show police the bushes where he saw someone fire a gun and then run away from, but the police ignored him and ran inside. As a matter of fact, all of the witnesses who told police that they heard a gunshot come from outside
The same day, K-Dog.
were told that they were simply mistaken and it came from the bathroom window instead.
New York Times reporter Earl Caldwell was staying in motel room 215 when he heard the shot.
What I saw, this man just very clearly rise out of these bushes. He was in sort of a crouched, stooping position. I did not see a weapon in this man's hands, but I saw this figure directly across from the motel. And also, of course, the man in the bushes was a white man. From the day of the assassination until this day, no police, no FBI agent has ever come to me and said, "What did you see?"
And every single account that I've given you up until this point is either corroborated by several different witnesses or was in the official transcripts or what have you. But there's this one witness that isn't that reliable, but I have to mention. A hobo by the name of Harold Cornbread Carter, yes, his name was Cornbread, was drinking
Shout out Cornbread.
wine in the same bushes when he said he heard a shot, rolled over, and a man in a white shirt ran by him and then sprinted around the back of the building. I don't know how much I can put my faith in a man named Cornbread, but I wasn't going to not mention that. Speaking of the police misleading people, remember how I said there was a really big tree in the way of the bathroom that wouldn't have made any sense for someone to shoot directly through the tree to get to the Lorraine Motel? Well, the Memphis Police Department were up all night after the shooting, cutting down the trees in front of the boarding house to, quote, help with the investigation.
Growing diagonally through the window, and you couldn't even see the Lorraine Motel from that. location. He said, I came back with crime scene in about an hour and the whole tree had been cut down, and I found out there was a cut down order sent out to the sanitation department.
So there's this entire active crime scene, and for some reason the police decide to go out at 4 in the morning and just start cutting stuff with a chainsaw. As a matter of fact, the only report that day that a shot ever came from the bathroom of the boarding house was the drunk Stevens that I mentioned earlier. Every other person who was there that day reported the gunshot coming from outside in the bushes in front of the boarding house. So we've established that the official narrative is incredibly biased for some reason, and that James Earl Ray seems to be an incompetent patsy who just kind of stooped into this whole thing. Furthermore, it's the opinion of the King family, the attorneys, and everyone who was there that the official account is not what happened.
So when you hear this and you see Jesse Jackson and Andrew Young pointing up at that bathroom window, make you kind of scratch your head and side-eye both of them jokers.
So why so much cover-up, and why all of this hoopla over what could have been a simple dry and cut assassination? And this is the part of the video where I want to emphasize that this is a joke, and if any of the names that I say correspond to real people, that I made the names up, and it is purely coincidental. So that being said, the FBI murdered Martin Luther King Jr. Like, they murdered him so hard. I tried to go as long as I possibly could in this video without saying it, and it made me want to die. So let's fix that. During the time of a shooting, there was a black detective who was put on task of protecting Martin Luther King during his stay in Memphis, who was currently at home hiding. The reason he was hiding is because 2 hours before the shooting, someone called saying they were planning to murder him. It turns out that this report was entirely made up and came from no other than the FBI.
Until the Arkin arrived and stated I was wanted.
Shout out to Ed Reddit. This is Ed Reddit, the detective that was going to be guarding Dr. King. They called Ed Reddit and said, hey, man, they put a bag on your head. You need to go home now. A couple of hours later, Dr. King was dead, and they said, oh, false alarm.
The headquarters. I said, for what? He said, I don't know. Just get in the car. Let's go. I was told to bring you back. Director, Frank Holloman, stated that the man standing across from me was Secret Service from Washington, stating that there was a contract out on my life. At that time, he told Arkin to take me home and wait until someone arrived to guard me. Once we arrived at my house, while seated in the car, awaiting the security for me being there, I imagine no more than 5 or 10 minutes, the radio blasted out Dr. King had been shot. This departmental communication reveals that by 4:15 that afternoon, Lieutenant Arkin of the Memphis Police Department had been alerted by a phone call from the FBI that the assassination threat attributed to Reddit was a mistake. So the FBI made up a completely false story that this head detective that was protecting Martin Luther King needed to go home in order to avoid. Not only that, but a few minutes before King was shot, there was a bomb threat called in downtown Memphis that made the police focus their attention there instead of on MLK. Now, most often with events this large or assassinations that would cause this much noise, it is very rare that an actual member of a government party will carry out the assassination themselves. They almost always get fall guys to do it. And that's not even a conspiracy. Just look at historical cases like the assassination of Archduke Ferdinand, where they got a bunch of teenage freedom fighters to carry out the work of politicians. So let's take a look at who some of those fall guys might have been. One of which being the guy I mentioned earlier as being sued by the King family, Lloyd Jowers. Remember how I said that the boarding house was located above a place called Jim's Grill? Well, Lloyd Jowers was the owner of Jim's Grill. The day after the shooting, a cab driver said that he was sitting in Jim's Grill whenever Lloyd told him to come look at what he has under the counter, to which he slid out a .30-06 rifle. Not only that, but whenever an investigator followed up on that lead, a waitress said that she was working the day of the shooting, heard a gunshot,
and then Lloyd ran in the back room holding a rifle and had mud on the knees of his pants, implying that he was kneeled in the grass outside, to which he then took his rifle, wrapped it in a white sheet, set it under the counter, and when the police came by, said he didn't hear anything. Jowers' business partner by the name of Willie Adkins said years later that Jowers had confided in him and told him that he had a part in the King shooting and his job was to get rid of the rifle. And according to Adkins, Jowers passed the gun off to someone else who threw it off a bridge into a river. Jowers himself was a former member of the Memphis Police Department and still very close to several of the leading members of the department itself.
Bingo.
He told Adkins that the reason he was given that job is because they trusted him and his business was directly across the street from the Lorraine Motel, which, if you'll remember, I mentioned earlier, was so popular for having King stay there that they even named one of the rooms after him. Over the years, Jowers was pressured to come forward about his involvement in the murder, and finally in 1993 he went on ABC television and told them that he was paid $100,000 to help with the murder of Martin Luther King. More specifically, he said he was paid by known mob man Frank Liberto.
Jowers ran Jim's Grill across from the Lorraine Motel and claimed another Memphis businessman, Frank Liberto, paid him $100,000 to contract the killer. What did
Frank Liberto is who James Earl Ray refers to as the Fat Man.
Frank Liberto asked you to do?
He asked me to handle some money transaction, hire someone to assassinate Dr.
Okay. So you said who? He got a weird name, fam. His name is Wendy Goon. Wendigoon. Wendy Goon. Dope information.
Liberto paid him $100,000 to contract the killer.
What did Frank Liberto ask you to do?
He asked me to handle some money transaction, hire someone to assassinate Dr. Martin Luther King.
See, Frank Liberto openly despised King. He had several different produce factories and manufacturing plants around the city of Memphis and said that King was making things harder because, you know, those pesky workers, them and their human rights. The day of the shooting, John McFerrin was working at one of Liberto's produce plants when he heard Liberto answer the phone and say, quote, "I told you not to call me here. Shoot the son of a bitch when he comes on the balcony." Years later, a woman known as Lavada Atkinson was at a restaurant whenever Liberto got drunk and was trying to impress her and eventually said, "You know, I'm the one who had MLK killed." Remember James Earl Ray's first lawyer, the one who pressured him to confess to killing MLK? Well, that lawyer, Percy Foreman, was a known affiliate of the mafia and was very close to Frank Liberto.
I don't give a continental damn whether there was a conspiracy.
Well, Mr. Foreman, did you ever ask your client whether he was a part of a conspiracy, whether he'd been hired?
No, I never asked him that, but I asked him enough other questions to convince me that he was not.
Lloyd Jowers was also asked, well, if you were just the guy who got rid of the gun, then who actually shot Martin Luther King? To which Jowers said it was Memphis Police Department Lieutenant Earl Clark. Earl Clark had several accusations of taking bribes from gang members and was publicly a friend of Frank Liberto. Not only that, but he was the highest rated marksman on the Memphis Police Department. According to Jowers, as soon as the shot was taken, Clark sprinted down the hill, handed him the rifle so that he could then dispose of it, which, as I mentioned earlier, he brought it to the back door of the restaurant, while Clark jumped over a nearby wall and escaped in, you guessed it, a white Mustang. According to a janitor who worked at the Memphis Police Department, the night before the shooting, there was a meeting in the police chief's office between the police chief, the mayor of Memphis, Earl Clark, and another man by the name of Lieutenant Strausser. According to that same janitor, Strausser spent the entire day at the rifle range shooting his .30-06 over and over. Around the bushes of the boarding house, there were footprints of a size 13 shoe, and lo and behold, Strausser had a size 13 shoe. All of these assassinations, there's always a grassy knoll or some, what is this, a brambly bush that the actual killers hid in for some reason. I don't know what their aversion to buildings is. So to kind of summarize all of that, it seems that as part of this conspiracy involving the Memphis Police Department, two shooters, one most likely being the primary shooter and the other being a backup of Clark and Strausser, hid themselves in the bushes in front of the boarding house, took the shot whenever King walked out before having someone else ditch the guns as they got away in nearby getaway vehicles. So going off of all of that, one or two shooters placed in these bushes in between the boarding house and the motel went down, split most likely into two separate directions. One of them handed their weapon to Jowers, who then took it around this direction before carrying it into the back of the building that was connected to Jim's Grill and eventually disposing of the rifle. The shooter went this direction before interacting with a wall that was located over here, jumped over it, got into a getaway car, and then made his way down the street. Anyone else, a backup shooter, or someone else set to get rid of the weapons, most likely followed a similar route, either getting into a getaway vehicle here, or as the cab driver reported, getting into one of the two white Mustangs that were located on a street between these two buildings. Either way, everyone in the investigation was focused on Ray leaving the window, going out of this building, and then getting away on this street, whereas there were several different avenues of escape left open to whoever the other conspirators might have been. So that's all well and good, but what's with this rifle that has James Earl Ray's fingerprints and him having rented the room in the house right above them, and all of this so perfectly falling in
T-Streets, what it do?
line for him to be the fall guy? Well, now that I've given you the official telling of the assassination as well as the unofficial but more widely believed telling of the assassination, let's get into James Earl Ray's story of what happened. And to do that, let's talk about James Earl Ray himself. At the end of World War II, James Earl Ray was part of the Office of Strategic Services.
I'm sorry, that's George Bush. I don't know who it's supposed to be, but that's George Bush.
Is also known as the OSS. That organization then became the Central Intelligence Agency, or the CIA, after the war ended. James's brother said that he would never really talk about what happened while he was in the OSS and would only say cryptic things like they're kind of like the mafia. Once you join, you're never really allowed to leave. Specifically, James said that he was haunted by events that took place while he was in the OSS and later the CIA, and said that they would drug him and did other things to, quote, mess with my mind. This is kind of out of the scope for this video since I'm trying to talk about the specifics of King's assassination itself, but there are several that believe James Earl Ray was a part of the early MK Ultra experiments. Also, further on his backstory, his escape from the Jefferson City prison was weird, but this wasn't his first escape attempt. He had tried several times before, and every time he would just be administered medicine and then allowed to do it again. It's believed that Ray was one of many people kept on a leash by the government that they would let off if they ever needed them to commit whatever act that they couldn't have their hands directly tied to. Not only that, but shortly after completing this escape attempt that he definitely shouldn't have been able to get away with, his cellmate, who had told him to try to escape, was found hanging in his cell with his arms and legs broken. The official story being that he hung himself and then broke his arms and legs. I don't even know how to tie that back into the whole conspiracy. That was what? It was shortly after escaping jail that he met the figure known as Raul. Despite the name and every description that was given of him, Raul was not Spanish, and it's not uncommon for operatives to have names that intentionally mislead those trying to look for them. This Raul seemed to be very generous to the escaped convict and began supplying Ray with money as well as fake IDs and passports so he could move from the United States to Canada. It was even Raul who gave Ray money and told him to go to Birmingham, Alabama, and buy himself a nice car to...
Shout out to Birmingham, Alabama. So the fat man, let's get that straight. The fat man's wife ain't the one that spoke out. The woman that spoke out was actually Lord Jowers' employee at Jim's Grill. She actually was in an affair with Lloyd, and when she seen him come in with that rifle, she assumed that he was the one that struck the. Y'all still with me? Okay. I don't know what just happened now, but yeah, we finna rock out. Let me bring this back some. Oh, damn. My bad, y'all. I'm thinking y'all can see what I can see. I don't know what knocked me out, man. Knocked everything down. All right, we good now? You see the screen? Okay. Flower Bloom, I don't know what happened, fam. But if you want to come back up, you more than welcome to come back up. Yeah, man, that's crazy. All right, here we go, y'all. Yeah, I don't know. I guess the internet knocked me down or something. I don't know. But we're finna get back into it.
You to rent a room.
All right, let me get
Rifles
back.
are going to be like. That is when Raul told Ray to specifically purchase a Remington 760 in 30-06. To which, as I mentioned earlier, Ray went there, bought it in the wrong caliber, and then after showing Raul, Raul told him he had to take it back and get it exchanged for the right one. The day before Martin Luther King was assassinated, James Earl Ray said that Raul met him at Jim's Grill and said, "Tomorrow I'm meeting the Cubans in order to make this weapons deal. I need you to rent a room in the boarding house above this restaurant so that I can make the deal. And if anything goes wrong, I need you to be waiting outside to be my getaway driver so that I can get out of here if we need to." This is why there was an identical Remington 760 that had his fingerprints on it while wrapped in the bedsheet. This is the reason that despite renting the room in his name, James did not have any fingerprints on the bathroom or the room itself, and why he was waiting outside when, according to him, he heard a gunshot and Raul runs out, jumps in the back of the car, and he drives away. Ray believing that the deal went bad, someone got shot, and now he's trying to get out of there. According to Ray, he was on his way out of Memphis whenever he began to slow.
Now, did that make sense? Did everything make sense so far? So basically, they had Ray come to Birmingham. They treated him, had him to go get a car. You know what I'm saying? Take care of yourself. You know what I'm saying? Sent him back to go get the 762. I mean, the Remington 760. Brought it back as a sample for the Cubans. You know what I'm saying? Had them rent the room as a place where Raul and the Cubans can meet. Nobody never seen Raul, but I guarantee you a dime to a dollar to a dime that's CIA or something to that nature. Yeah.
Down the car, Raul jumped and rolled out of the back seat and ran away, and James never saw him again. From there, James drove all night till he hit Atlanta, where he said he met the before-mentioned fat man who gave him a bunch of money and new passports so that he could be on the run for 2 months before being caught in England. And it wasn't until turning on his radio on the way to Atlanta that he found out that he had actually taken part in the killing of Martin Luther King Jr.
After a while, I got on a main street. I was going to call this telephone number in New Orleans and find out if they could contact Raul and see if anything happened there, because I thought maybe being with guns around there, some type of raid or something. Well, anyway, when I was driving out there, they said something about I had radio and said something about Martin Luther King had been shot. I didn't think too much about that. And then about 10 minutes later, when I was on the outskirts of Memphis, or maybe I was actually in Mississippi, they said that they were looking for a white man in a white Mustang in connection with the shooting. So I decided then that I better, move on out of there. I drove on and cut off and went to Atlanta. And from Atlanta, I went on to Canada, caught a bus.
So while that does tie up all the loose ends of why there was a bedsheet that some stranger supposedly dropped off that had Ray's fingerprints on it, and while that makes sense that he never touched the rooms.
Absolutely. He's an absolute fall guy. They ran a play for him to come there, rent a room, bring a rifle with him. He got his fingerprints on the rifle. He get a rifle to Raul or whoever. He's sitting in the car waiting. Everything jump off. He get up out of there, not knowing that he finna be charged for this. Crazy work, fam. Absolutely crazy work. Real fall guy action. We're gonna keep going.
That he rented, even though he did rent them, and while he was a getaway driver in the white Mustang at the time of it, and why there would have been 2 Mustangs and blah blah blah, it makes everything make sense. That's still just the word of one escaped convict over what? The entirety of the FBI's investigation? Well, it does line up everything cut and dry. We can't just take his word as being the truth. And the cool thing is, we don't have to. Daniel Ellsberg of Pentagon Papers fame swore on an affidavit that Agent Brady Tyson told him in confidence that it was J. Edgar Hoover who had Martin Luther King killed. If J. Edgar Hoover sounds familiar, that's because he was the director of the FBI during this time. More specifically, that Hoover had a right-hand man by the name of Clyde Tolson, who was known in the agency for carrying out Hoover's dirty work. That included getting mob members to carry out killings that the FBI couldn't handle themselves, or more specifically, didn't want to be associated with handling themselves. According to this testimony of Agent Brady Tyson.
What's up, Angel? Hey, we done hopped down a rabbit hole. Yeah, but this is a good one right here.
It was Tolson who paid several informants to monitor Memphis at the time and figure out exactly where King would be staying. Not only that, but according to Ellsberg, Tolson paid off the warden at the Jackson City prison so that Ray would be able to escape. This makes sense as to why immediately after escaping, he met this really kind guy who just seemed to love him and gave him a bunch of money and fake passports.
Raul.
So several former agents, as well as James Earl Ray and those closely connected to the killings, like the King family themselves, all believe the FBI to be the main culprit in this entire plot. And considering that it's believed Frank Liberto had many associations with the FBI in which he would carry out favors for them and they would look the other way on his operations. So it seems like the FBI, perhaps Tolson, had Liberto carry out the on-ground operations that it would take in order to have King killed.
MPD, Chief of Police, was a 25-year veteran of the Federal Bureau. That's a fun fact.
Also, this Raul guy, as well as Liberto and everyone else, connects to like the JFK assassination and also the Robert Kennedy assassination, but I won't get into that right now. In December of 1963, 1 month after JFK was killed, there was supposedly a meeting between Hoover and other high-ranking members of the FBI as to how they will have MLK taken care of. See, the FBI hated him for a whole slew of reasons. For one, people weren't exactly accepting of new ideologies at the time, and furthermore, King was causing issues for the established rule of how businesses and agencies were set up. Not only that, but this was at the height of the Russian panic or Red Scare thing, where everyone was super afraid of communism. And while King's ideas by today's standards are fairly moderate, his ideas of a sort of universal income or guaranteed health coverage and things like that were seen as super evil commie at the time. So the FBI wanted him out of the picture. As a matter of fact, they were so determined to find dirt on him that they began bugging his hotel rooms with hidden microphones. How did they do that? Well, they had the help of people like Marel McCullough, a former CIA operative who worked in South America, who was then moved into their early surveillance or COINTELPRO operations.
Marel McCullough. Man. This, my friends, is the young man that was stooped over Dr. King on the balcony.
McCullough was a close friend and member of King's inner circle, and it's believed that he was one of the people who began bugging his hotel rooms wherever he went. As a matter of fact, it's believed by many that he is the figure kneeling over the body of MLK right after he was shot.
In the famous Lau photograph of the associates of Dr. King pointing away from the motel and toward the rooming house, there was for a long time a mystery about the person who was kneeling over Dr. King checking him for life signs. That person was Marel McCullough, who somehow, when hearing the shot, instantly streaked up the stairs to the balcony and checked Dr. King. He was an undercover operative for the Memphis Police Department, but reporting directly to an intelligence officer of the Memphis Police Department.
Remember Lloyd Jowers that I mentioned earlier, the owner of Jim's Grill? Well, according to him, the day before the shooting, there was a meeting of conspirators in Jim's Grill that all had a part in the assassination. The meeting consisted of 5 men, and only 2 of them Jowers could identify. One of them was the aforementioned Police Lieutenant Earl Clark, the supposed shooter. And unbeknownst to Jowers at the time, one of those men was Marel McCullough. If all this is true, that would mean that McCullough was not only a close associate of King's, who was actually a government agent and bugging his hotel room, but that he was also part of the direct conspiracy to murder him and was at the meeting for it the day before. Using these hidden mics that were placed in King's hotel rooms, the FBI got information that they believe showed him as having extramarital affairs. Believing this to be a good way to hurt King's image as the reverend and civil rights leader, they wrote him an at-the-time anonymous letter that has come out several years later to have originated directly from the FBI. In this letter from the FBI, where the writer pretended to be a former supporter and fellow black man of King, they say in the intro, King, in view of your low grade, abnormal personal behavior, I will not dignify your name with either a Mr. or a Reverend or a Doctor, and your last name calls to mind only the type of king such as King Henry VIII, and his countless acts of adultery and immoral conduct lower than that of a beast. Talk about an intro. After proceeding throughout the entire course of the letter to call King a fraud, it ends by saying, King, there is only one thing left for you to do. You know what it is. You have just 34 days in which to do. This exact number has been selected for a specific reason. It has definite practical significance. You are done. There is but one way out for you. You better take it before your filthy, abnormal, fraudulent self is bared to the nation. So if you ever think that the government didn't hate Martin Luther King, 4 years before his assassination, here's a letter where they literally told him to kill himself. The head of the Memphis Police Department at the time was a 25-year veteran of the FBI. And as a matter of fact, whenever he came to position, he said his number... 4 years before his assassination, here's a letter where they literally told him to kill himself. The head of the Memphis Police Department at the time was a 25-year veteran of the FBI. And as a matter of fact, whenever he came to position, he said his number one goal was to make sure that the FBI and the MPD had a two-way street of communication. After the first march took place on March the 28th within Memphis, King decided that it was too dangerous to stay in room 306, as it was a large windowed room that opened up into an open street. He decided to change his room to room 202, that being a more secluded room facing away from the main road. However, before King got there, someone called the hotel and said that they were part of King's accompaniment and asked if they could have the room changed back to 306. By the time King got there, everything else had been booked, so he decided to just stick with room 306. However, that call ahead was not part of King's group, and as a matter of fact, no one has ever identified where the random caller came from. However, I can think of a couple people it could be, and they both start with FBI.
During the course of our investigation, we revealed the fact that the mission of the FBI was to destroy Dr. King. That is all documented in the course of our reports, and we did criticize him severely for the illegal, unconstitutional way in which his civil rights were violated.
Also, the day of the shooting, the FBI immediately took over the investigation, which made no sense because at the time it had nothing to do with anything outside of the state of Tennessee. It should have been a state issue. Even more weird, as soon as the FBI got MLK's body, they never performed an autopsy. Also, remember that book I mentioned earlier, He Slew a Dreamer? The book that had all the information about how James Earl Ray was a racist and how he just really wanted to kill King? Well, the author of that book was William Bradford Huey, and he was very close friends with, you guessed it, J. Edgar Hoover.
The feds.
Immediately after MLK's assassination, a high-ranking agent by the name of Cartha DeLoach put out a bulletin to Hoover saying that there's so much misinformation going around about the case that the FBI should quietly fund a book that would then allow there to be correct information about James Earl Ray and how racist and evil he was. Cartha DeLoach, that name sounds familiar. Oh yeah. And while we're going down the rabbit hole of suspicious stuff that happened around this, let's just keep going. The day of the assassination, whenever they were investigating the boarding house, Captain Ed Atkinson said that he overheard Earl Clark say to another police officer, "We're going to have to cut the branches down. He couldn't have taken a shot from here." Which, if you'll remember, the branches mean a shot couldn't have been taken, and the MPD worked all night to make sure none were there. Also, Tennessee State Commissioner at the time, Harry Avery, began his own investigation to try to figure out how James Earl Ray, a supposed klutz of a convict, was able to amass so much money and get so many fake IDs, to which he was immediately fired by Governor Buford Ellington. A nurse who was at St. Joseph Hospital at the time that MLK was brought in
This is the story. This is the urban legend that everybody loves to tell, with a slight twist.
Said that he still had a pulse and they were attempting to resuscitate him before a group of men in suits came in and told them to step away from the body. As she was leaving the room, she turned around and said she saw the men take off King's life-saving equipment. And the only remaining doctor in the room who was with the men was the one who gave King the official time of 7:05 as being his time of death. And speaking of deaths related to this whole thing, let's talk about some of the weird ones. A cab driver by the name of Lewis Word, that's the third cab driver in this whole thing, anyway, said that the night of the shooting, he met with another friend of his named Buddy, who was a cab driver picking someone up from the Lorraine Motel whenever the shooting took place. Buddy said that he was looking at Martin Luther King whenever he was shot, and then turned to his left and saw someone run out of the bushes in front of the boarding house, scale a wall, and get into a vehicle and drive away. Lewis Ward said that a few days later, he stopped at the cab agency to ask if anyone had seen Buddy because he hadn't heard from him in a while, and they said that Buddy jumped out of a moving car going down the highway and was immediately ran over and killed in a supposed suicide. They also said that before his death, the last time they saw him, he was trying to tell everyone the story of the shooter who was escaping the crime scene. Remember how I said earlier that despite all this, James Earl Ray couldn't get a retrial? Well, at first, he had a lawyer, Z.T. Osborne, the former lawyer of Jimmy Hoffa, come and say that he would try to get him a new case. 3 months after this, Osborne committed suicide, and his wife said that she never believes that he actually killed himself.
This is the chain of events, the same type of events that followed John F. Kennedy's demise.
Shortly after this, a judge said that he would look at the case because the evidence shows that Ray needs to be retried, and then he died of a heart attack. Another judge came in his place and says that Ray needs to be retried, and then he died of a heart attack. And then the third guy says, nope, no retrial, don't need it, he just leave him in there. A year after the assassination, Martin Luther King's brother, Alfred King, was also looking into all of the details of this until he was found floating dead in his at-home swimming pool. The official story is that Alfred drowned. However, Alfred was a fantastic swimmer and, even more alarming, did not have any water in his lungs. He was also wearing just his underwear and had severe bruising around his neck, but the police decided that it was a drowning.
Rest in peace to A.D. King.
1971, Bill Sater, a reporter who was looking into the whereabouts of this assassination, was asking questions in Waco, Texas, whenever his drink was poisoned and he died. 6 years after this, the FBI Assistant Director of Intelligence, William Sullivan, was set to testify against J. Edgar Hoover in the House Select Committee of Assassinations. However, a few days before he was set to testify against Hoover, he was shot in the middle of the woods by a man who, quote, mistook him for a deer. Also, that thing I just mentioned, the House Select Committee of Assassinations, if you'll remember in my JFK video, this was an entire committee put together that was made up of senators and other government members to determine if the JFK assassination and the MLK assassination was part of a conspiracy. The one real piece of evidence that they managed to get out of that was, remember how in the beginning I said that Ray was supposedly taking a bounty to kill King from 2 KKK members? Yeah, it turns out they were dead at the time that that happened. So yeah, that's not true. However, the House Select Committee didn't come to the conclusion that MLK was definitely a conspiracy. But in 2012, it came out that the liaison that was giving them the information to review was actually a CIA agent. So in the committee that was put together to determine if the CIA killed MLK, it was determined that the CIA did not kill MLK because the evidence provided by the CIA said so.
Oh, come on now, dog. Come on, man.
But to go ahead, cover all my bases, I do not want to unalive myself. I'm a great swimmer. I do not look like a deer. Is there anything else I'm missing?
You're a questionable swimmer.
Oh no. There was also a group of the CIA that was currently monitoring King at the time of the assassination, known as the 902nd Military Intelligence Group, that was being led by a Colonel Downey. They had cameras set up everywhere, secret agents set up everywhere to see what would happen with King. Now, you would imagine that whenever the shooting happened, they would have like a picture or something. And according to one former agent, there were in fact several pictures of Jowers running down the hill and around to the back of Jim's grill. Whenever they were asked for these pictures as part of evidence at the House Select Committee of Assassinations, they said that they got rid of all of them. That every picture they took of the day of the assassination disappeared and they dumped it. And isn't that convenient? So after all of that, do you see why Shelby County, Tennessee gave the King family $100? It was this information, as well as personal accounts of witnesses and everything combined, that led a jury to believe that, yeah, the government, as well as several other agencies, including Lloyd Jowers, were a part of a larger conspiracy to kill Martin Luther King Jr. So take everything I just said as the evidence that the conspiracy occurred, compared to the evidence of James Earl Ray, which is one drunk guy's report and fingerprints on a gun that did not shoot the bullet. And most of the people who were involved in this whole thing are either dead or ineffective now anyway. Yet when we see people like Martin Luther King, who were so resolved to make a difference, that he garnered the hatred of those around him, and including the country that he resided in. While we may not be able to hold these people accountable in any court on earth, it is our job to better understand the past so that we can be more prepared for what actions come in the future. And on that note,
the FBI killed Martin Luther King.
I am further emphasizing that everything I just said was in Minecraft as a joke. It's all part of a big satire post that I'm doing right now, and none of it's real. None of this at all is real. It's all just me trying to be funny on my comedy YouTube channel. And boy, I sure do love jokes, and I thought it was pretty funny. And I hope that you thought it was funny too. And thank you for watching. But first of all
right, y'all. For y'all that's still hanging with me, I had to I appreciate y'all for one. And this is something that's near and dear to my heart. You know, growing up, I was fascinated with this story, and it's crazy to find out all the inner workings that were going on behind the scenes. And this is, it's not even speculated. It's not even alleged. You know, you got these people coming out of your mouth letting you know what it is, man. From Mr. Jowers, the owner and proprietor of Jim's Grill, to the people that said that they saw these people hopping out the bushes, to the detective that was told to go home because there was a bag on his head. Memphis PD did they big one with this one. They did they big one with this one. The politicians, entertainers of the civil rights leaders, along with Hoover, took part in these atrocities. Yeah, it's crazy, fam. It's crazy. That's why I said when you see them people look and they point up at that flop house bathroom window, come on, fam. Y'all had to be in on it too. You had to be. And the fact of the matter is, y'all owed him more than that, than to let him perish in that fashion, you know. The Reverend from Memphis, Billy Cowles, that had a Floridian slip and basically said that, and at that point, I took a step to the side so they could have a clear shot, and then the shots rang out, you know. But the thing about it is, when you have a mission, the people that play a role are simply that, role players. This was this man's fate. That's what he was put on this earth for. And I'm going to salute him until I'm gone. I don't care what the hell nobody else say about him. He was a martyr and he was a champion for our people. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people want to say this and want to say that about him. But the fact of the matter is, none of you would have the balls to do what he did on any day of the week. Any day of the week. Putting your children, putting your family, putting your wife on the back burner for a greater cause. Like, for real, just think about it. He stood on straight business. He didn't duck no smoke. He walked straight into the fire and knew what it was. Knew what it was. He was sick as a dog on April 3rd at that temple when he gave that speech. But he said it with everything that he had in him. You know what I'm saying? The people that did him that way, they got what they deserve. Whether in this life or the next. I fully believe it. I fully believe it. Yeah, fam. But this is something I had been wanting to bring to y'all for a minute. But I didn't know who would be interested in it. You know what I'm saying? You know, things like this don't really generally get a lot of views. But like I said, it's something near and dear to my heart. K-Dog said a business owner by the flop house got the same 100K promised to straight dropping cornbread. Well, that's something crazy, ain't it? Ain't that crazy, K-Dog? Boy. Yeah. Yeah, so when you hear all these things that the FBI put out, all these documents, all these wiretaps, the same people that eventually eradicated them. I mean, you got to take that with a grain of salt, or you believe what you want to believe. Because at the end of the day, I'm going to believe what I want to believe. You feel me? And the proof is in the pudding. When the man came down here, they let all the kids out of the schools. They protested with kids. Water hoses, dogs. They locked up so many of us that they couldn't use the jails anymore. They used the fairgrounds. They put the kids in the fairgrounds. Yeah. Crazy work, fam. Crazy work. And then you fast forward 60 years to where we at now. A bunch of perk popping smackers and shiesty mass, emotional and angry. No sense of direction. But that was the whole motive from the jump. To kill off any hope, to take away anybody that they deem to be, quote unquote, the Black Messiah. That's why Malcolm had to go. That's why Fred Hampton had to go. That's why Bobby Seale and Huey and Eldridge Cleaver, all them cats, they had to get up out of here. They had to get up out of here. You know what I'm saying? Said that y'all pay attention to the numerology they dropped. What numerology we talking about, Tamari? Yeah. Yeah. All of the real authentic leaders had to go. So you do the math and see who you left with. Hell. Al Sharpton already told y'all he was working for them people. That only leave one more other real leader, so to speak. He ain't never got no smoke with nobody. I ain't gonna say his name because it ruffle feathers. You know what I'm saying? But y'all know who it is. Do the math. Every real leader is out of here. Every real one. And I ain't talking about Jesse Jackson either. The saddest part, we played in it all. It's a whole lot that Harriet could have. And that's always been the goal. That's always been the goal. To point the finger right back at us. We didn't do it. Y'all did it. Y'all did it. From what happened to Malcolm. Don't y'all know that just the whole setup behind Malcolm X was so crazy. I don't know if y'all ever put this into context. And they showed it on the movie. But I'm gonna show it right now. Okay. And then I'm gonna get up out of here because I know it's late. But yeah, I want y'all to see this. Let me share the screen. I'm gonna share this and we up out of here. So check this out. Boom. This building with Chase on it. Oh man, let me get back. Okay, this is the Autobahn Ballroom right here. You know what's so crazy about that? Malcolm X gets shot. And that's the hospital. That's the hospital right there. That ain't new. That's always been there. Oh, there you go, Divine Black Rose. That's it. That's it. Yeah, that's the Autobahn. Facts, big facts. That was the plan. And anybody who was getting, they had to go. And it worked. We need to wake up. Man, cold part about it is we'll settle for 30 pieces of silver. If you know, you know. So yeah, right here. Boom. This is the entrance to the Autobahn. Okay. What that say right there? Come on, fam. What we doing? Come on, fam. Boom. Oh boy. That's crazy. That's crazy. So if you haven't watched Judas and the Black Messiah, I strongly suggest you do so. Judas and the Black Messiah, the story of Fred Hampton. It's Fred Hampton's story, but the narrative remains the same. It always has been. Yeah. And it's several other people that we could talk about. But these two in particular is just crazy. You know. And still, front door. Crazy work, fam. Whoo, boy. All right. I ain't gonna hold y'all no longer, man. Salute to everybody in the building. I know this has been a long one, but I think we had fun tonight and we got informed. You know what I'm saying? Casey, to Marion, Divine Black Rose, you know what I'm saying? Flower Bloom, K Dizog, G Money, Cypress, Angel the Real Boss, Dyson Jones, JB. You know what I'm saying? Everybody that rock with us tonight, man. Jack, if you're still in here, salute to you, big homie. And man, listen, this your boy the Alabama Hitter. I thoroughly enjoyed you guys tonight. And I'm glad y'all enjoyed the content. If y'all not a member, consider becoming a member, fam. Support what we doing. But yeah. Until the next time we decide to spin, I'm in the win. Salute to the hitters. I'm gone.
Yeah.